This week on the True Geordie Podcast, we finally have our first woman on the show, and she's one of the strongest people I've ever met. An actress and entrepreneur who made a video diary during supporting her husband in his battle against cancer while raising 2 kids. And her name is Holly Matthews.
There was just so many similarities in who we were. Like, it was weird. Like, if anyone had ever said this to me, I'd have been like, oh, cringe, like, love at first sight stuff. But we met and we were like fully equals. He wasn't in pain. Like, we're talking like we were in the Caribbean in May this year, and within a month he was dead. It was weird. 3 days after brain surgery, he was wallpapering Texas's bedroom. You know, like, he didn't give a fuck. He had bandages on. I mean, he wasn't supposed to be, but he was the hardest bloke I've ever, like, mentally the strongest bloke, and not like a stiff upper lip or anything like that. Just like pure, I'll do what the fuck I want, like, on every level. We were sat, me and the girls, and we were writing 32 reasons why we love Ross, why we love Dad, and as I'm writing this, I mean, the poignancy of this is like not lost on me. Like, we were writing that, and I looked over and he was sort of chattering, and I thought, is he on the phone to someone? And I thought, oh my God, he's not, he's having a seizure. You know, he thought he was fine, and the doctors had to say, Ross, I'm really sorry, but you're not going to be saying anything that's right. And I'm in the middle of Boots buying nappies and like thing what we put on the bed and whatever. And I sat in the car afterwards. It was raining. I'm sat in the car. It's dark. I'm sitting there with nappies, and I'm looking at like Next, where we'd been, you know, the month previously buying house stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Just to be clear, you identify as a woman, though, don't you?
I do, yes.
Okay, good.
There's no ambiguity there.
Yeah,
I'm totally comfortable.
Crystal clear.
I can call you he if that's what you want.
Obviously a woman.
No, I'm really comfortable with being a woman.
Born a woman.
Born a woman.
Got all the...
Born a girl, if anything.
Everything under the hood.
Yeah.
Under the hood? Oh, God.
All right. So let's get
you still
serious.
have your hood?
All right. So we're going to get serious now. Slightly serious.
Dodge that question.
Slightly serious.
Yeah.
So, a while ago, I was moaning on Twitter and YouTube saying all these vloggers who we've got on YouTube who, hi guys, and my life's perfect, I'm just off to do this, that and the other, and I'm making a sandwich today. I was just like, it's not really an accurate depiction of real life. And it was brought to my attention that you are the person who's doing that best right now. So I watched some of your videos, and very quickly I realised that they were right. Then I knew straight away I wanted to get you on the podcast. We've been waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
And
some stuff's been going on.
I've sort of let you get on with everything you've been going on with. But do you want to sort of tell us how you sort of did things differently on your vlogs to the regular people out there?
The more recent stuff has come about me talking about my journey with my husband having cancer, grade 4 brain cancer, and with the girls, my 2 daughters, and just documenting it. And we spoke a little bit earlier, but for me, it was sort of threefold. It was like, one day the girls, my daughters, will want to understand what's happened, and this will make sense of it for them. 2, for myself, like to kind of at some point go back on it and go, shit, that really happened, and what was that? Because I can't remember many of the videos now. Like, I'm not going to go back and watch them all and like torture myself. I can't really remember them, and at some point I think I'll want to look at them and kind of go, okay, what happened? Like, really make sense of it. And then the other reason was that I don't want to say the same thing over and over again, and when you're going through something painful and everyone wants an update, you have to repeat the same sad story over and over again. And I just thought, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And so I put it all out initially when the most recent stuff, when Ross was dying. I thought, right, I'm going to just do a video. I'll blast it out to everyone. I won't have to say anything. And honestly, the truth is, since doing that, I haven't had to tell people the story, like not once since Ross has died. I've never had to say Ross died, like ever. Like I mean, yes, it's been in the press and stuff as well as being on YouTube, but I've never had to go in anywhere, and it's a weird thing, but actually it's kind of positive. So that's kind of how I I don't edit very much, mostly because I can't really edit, so I just splurge.
I like that though. It's because it's raw as fuck.
It's so
raw. Real.
I
and
just
that's what I like
kind
about
of
it.
say what is in my head, and then even when like the mess up bits where I'm like mumbling stuff, I just think, oh, so what? Like, you're right, like I'm so bored of like perfect lives. Like, it's not realistic, and it doesn't interest me at all. I don't want to watch like, hey, I'm so perfect and my life is amazing, just getting a coffee, and like it's dull. Like, I want to, when I speak to people, and that's why I like your show, is because I want to know what people are passionate about, and what excites them, and what, I don't know, like what scares them. I'm not interested in like small talk.
When I watched your video the first time, it fucking hit us like a ton of bricks, to be quite honest with you, because he has this woman who, not a girl, woman, who obviously is aware that she's about to lose the love of her life, who's going to spend the rest of her life with this guy, and all of a sudden, you know, life takes a turn and that's it. And you're having to try and make sense of that. And when you were speaking through the pain, and I think maybe it's the first video I might have seen was before you went into the hospice.
Yeah.
You spoke with such clarity, and you had your shit together in a way that I've not seen anyone speak while going through something so painful. And I was like, fucking hell, A, how much pain she's going through, and B, how together you were, it was mind blowing. Like, and the Geordie accent didn't hurt either, because obviously I connected with you, and it just blew us away.
I think just like for me, like just being honest was helpful. Like I find it easier. I don't really know how else to be with that stuff, and I think there's always in the back of my mind, this might help somebody else. Like, there is always that element there that if I talk about it, and I talk about it in a way that, you know, like the weird stuff that you go through, especially in grief and pain and like caring for somebody, there's weird stuff that no one talks about, that you don't really understand until you go through it.
No, you were saying things that, I mean, I've been through death before, and you were saying things that resonated with me, where you were like, it feels like my whole entire world's just like changed, like, and not in a cliche way, but you were like, it's almost like I've gone outside and everyone's talking a different language, and I'm like, I didn't get the memo. Like, when did this happen?
It's literally like now, since Ross has died, it's like I've had to draw a line under whatever I thought before. Whatever I thought, the rules, the boundaries, the limitations, what judgment I had on certain situations, like, it's gone. All of it's gone because Ross is dead. And so nothing makes sense. Nothing that I thought makes sense makes sense. So it's like I have to, at the minute, I feel like I'm going through this transition period where I'm like, okay, I'm allowing myself to, you know, like, I think people think I'm like never crying stuff. I cry. I just don't cry for hours. I because I'm working on myself all the time, like, I just don't feel that I need to. But I think now it's like this time where I'm like, what does it mean? What does it mean for us now? Where am I at now? And I'm constantly like just reworking what that is now. And I'm sure that, you know, and certainly like you said as well, like you kind of got that. And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people, but people don't talk about any of this stuff because we either, you know, like stiff up lip, just forget about it, don't talk about it, or we feel like we need to wrap it up and like it be fine after a bit. And I think someone said to me that grief particularly, it doesn't go away, and this totally makes sense to me, and it's where I'm at, but if you fill the rest of your life with good stuff, it's almost like it seems smaller in comparison to the good stuff around it.
Completely.
And that makes perfect sense to me. Like, that's what I'm doing now.
Can we sort of retrace the steps then? And can you give us an idea of what your life was like with Ross before the diagnosis, and then what it was like when you got the diagnosis?
So me and Ross, we met, I was with someone else. We met on a job for PIMS. We were both doing, I was an actress and I used to do like promotional work. And Ross was pretty much only on that job because he was a massive shagger. And he realised that fit girls do promotional work. And he went along to this interview and he was like, get me into this. Like,
you haven't got along with this guy.
Alcohol and women.
He was like,
it's basically your two best things.
So both of us were paid to be at home. We were paid reserves. Both of us, someone cancelled the job and we had to get called in. So we were livid because I was getting paid to be at home originally and then suddenly I had to go in. So we both like didn't want to be on the job. Both went on the job, met each other, and there was just so many similarities in who we were. Like, it was weird. Like, if anyone had ever said this to me, I'd have been like, oh, cringe, like love at first sight stuff. But we met and we were like, fully equal straight away. And there was lots of, like, I grew up on television, so in a time when we didn't have social media, so I was on a platform before everyone's on a platform now, like, and you know, people knew about my life or had a say in it in that time. So I grew up like that on telly. His dad was a Villa player. His dad played for Villa and Sheffield Wednesday, so he had that sort of level of fame in a weird way as well. So there was loads of similarities, and we just got on. I mean, he would have said, there's a weird saying that now, but he would have said that I pulled him in his mind. He's read the game. Have you read the game? Yeah, I've read it as well. And so he read the game, and so he was like, basically on this job, this is how he got into my head. He was giving cuddles out on the bus. What a cringer. Like, he's giving
cuddles out
to the girls,
Sounds
right?
like something you would do.
Right, no, I'm like, so he didn't cuddle me, right?
Right.
And so someone went, why didn't you cuddle Holly? And he went, and I went, don't cuddle me, I ain't that tactile. Like, and he didn't say you could cuddle me, like, or well, like, defensive about it. And then he didn't, and I sat there, and in my mind, probably because of my ego, I'd have been like, why didn't you cuddle me?
That's
like,
what they call the neg, isn't it?
Totally negged me, right?
Yeah.
So
Genius.
That's so clever, very good, excellent work. So I moved to Coventry the next day. I left the person I was with and moved to Coventry. Like, just
next day.
I went back. I ain't about the cheating life. I went back and broke up. That was a bad relationship anyway. But I broke up with him and went to Coventry. Didn't tell anyone. Thought I better work out if this is the real deal or what. And we just kind of went, if it's crap, like, we just sack it. We'll just be straight with each other, like, just say it's shit, I'm not into it anymore. And we pretty much didn't leave each other's side since. About a week later, we got a rail in the house for me to hang my clothes on. That's when we knew it was like, see, this is serious.
Bring your toothbrush and put your clothes on that rail.
And we just like, we never, like, jokes aside, we, like, his mate started calling us Rolly. His name was Ross, and we used to get called Rolly because we just used to potter about together. Like, we used to just say, like, those that play together stay together, like, have a laugh. And like, so for me, like, you know, before Ross was diagnosed, we spent a lot of time together, just pottering around, both self-employed, did what we want. He had houses, he did property, and had his own football teamwear business. And so we just used to potter around together, doing, you know, drinking cups of tea and eating biscuits and having a laugh. And then became parents, and that was all a new journey. And then when he was diagnosed, which would have been about 4 years ago, it hit us like a ton of bricks. But he still dealt with it in a really matter-of-fact way. Like I said to you earlier, Ross was on the autistic spectrum anyway, so it was black and white, I'm dead or I'm alive. There was no bollocks about it, there was no feeling sorry for himself, and that made it easier on everybody else around, because he just got on with it.
And you didn't hide it from the kids either, from what I've seen.
The girls were really young when he was diagnosed, so Texas was just 1 when he was diagnosed, so obviously there was no, like, explanation to her. Brooke knew, but it wasn't anything tangible because she was, like, really young, and so brain cancer was a word. But Ross wasn't ill. Like, that sounds a weird thing to say, you know, he had a scar on his head, but to them he was just dad with a scar on his head. He wasn't ill. And even, like, when he died, you know, people mean well and they say the cliched stuff that they say, and, like, at least he's not in pain. And I'm like, he wasn't in pain. Like, we're talking, like, we were in the Caribbean in May this year, and within a month he was dead. Like, it wasn't like a long process.
Really?
He wasn't ill. We were in the Caribbean having a holiday, a normal holiday, and he came back 2 days later, had a seizure, and went downhill from there. So there was, in lots of ways, you know, like, when we lucky talk, but I feel lucky, like, his cancer was bad from the start. Like, he would fully say, it's just like, he'd say, like, well, I should be dead. Like, it's only because doctors have worked a little bit harder and that. He's like, I shouldn't be here. Like, there was never any, like, we understood how serious it was, and obviously you hope that it's not going to be the case. And, you know, we tried all the stuff, and yes, we tried cannabis before the people comment underneath. Yawn. You know, we tried everything, and it wasn't enough, unfortunately. You know, sometimes it's just not enough. But you know, we were very clear with the kids, but the kids didn't really get it until really near the end. Like, the last year, so August last year, he had his second brain surgery. We had to explain to them then what was going on, because obviously we didn't know whether he would survive that, and we sort of talked through them. But again, it was weird. 3 days after the brain surgery, he was wallpapering Texas's bedroom. You know, like, he didn't give a fuck. He had bandages on. I mean, he wasn't supposed to be, but he was the hardest bloke I've ever, like, mentally the strongest bloke, and not like a stiff upper lip or anything like that, just like pure, I'll do what the fuck I want, like, on every level. And so the kids didn't really see it. It wasn't really until I had to say, Dad's gonna die, that they really understood it, which is brutal, but that's how it was. Like, it was quick. Although it was 4 years, the end was really quick for them.
You do feel lucky then.
I do feel lucky, like, I
for that.
Honestly, genuinely, people will look at my life and they'll put their own filter on it, and they'll think, fuck. And I get it, because if somebody had told me my story, I'd go, shit, like, you've been through some shit. Like, I'm not stupid enough to not see that, but I don't feel like a victim. I don't feel sorry for myself, like, not for one bit. Like, I've got nice things, I've got a nice life, I've got opportunity, I've got money in the bank, I've got a brain in my head that can create stuff. Like, I've got 2 kids, I might not have had any of that. You know, like, when Ross was diagnosed, I remember sitting, and I think I've mentioned this in a video before, but I remember sitting in the hospital and we were waiting for him to be scanned to see how bad shit was in case it was anywhere else. And we both sat there and we were like, and Ross always used to say, like, just make good decisions. Make good decisions in life. Don't make shit decisions. Like, think about what you're doing in that, and, like, you know, don't get yourself in debt and fucking take too many drugs, and don't fuck your life up. Like, just make good decisions. Sounds obvious.
So many people fucking struggle with that, though.
But you know, like, seriously, used to say, like, if you want to do it, stop fucking talking about doing it and just do it. And, you know, like,
he's a man after me.
Like, proper, like, straight. And we sat there and we just went, look, we've done enough of our lives. Like, we got on top of our lives enough that if we sit here now, you know, we've got kids, first of all, that wouldn't have been an option. We've got kids, we've got property, we're cool. If we sit here and do fuck all for a year, we'll be all right, financially and all that. Like, we'd still be all right. I mean, obviously we weren't going to do that, but we'd have been all right. And that was a really, really amazing position to be in. And I never, you know, there's people that aren't at all in that position, in that circumstance, and it just piles on the shit. That could happen to any of us at any time, and it will. And if you've got other stuff on top of that, it's hard to cope with. I mean, I can't imagine it, because we didn't have to. We'd done enough to sort of keep on top of our lives before that. So I feel lucky, you know, like, I really do. Like,
my brain keeps going back to the fact that you had that holiday just before.
Yeah, that.
He obviously took a turn for the worst, and I think to myself, God, like, how many people would love to have had that opportunity with their loved one before that happened? Do you look back at that holiday?
It's hard to actually, like, I find it hard to look at the photos because it feels like yesterday. It feels no time at all.
Well, it wasn't, was it?
It wasn't. And that holiday, our friend, my husband's mum's friend, lives out in Turks and Caicos, and she invited us out. And it's really weird, because I think, and I'm not trying to, like, make out like there's some kind of psychicness, but I think there was something intuitively in me that knew there was something not right with Ross, even though there was no obvious signs, because I cancelled 2 events that I was supposed to be doing to go to the Caribbean. I was supposed to be speaking at a women business in business event, and I just said, look, and I never do that. I wasn't paid to do it, but I never cancel stuff. And I was like, we really need this holiday. Like, it's a really amazing holiday. Like, we're being given it free pretty much, just gotta pay for the flights and it'll be incredible. And Brooke, my daughter, was supposed to be doing some TV thing as well, and I went, do you know what, there's too much going on, like, I think she needs time with the family, and let's knock it on the head. And that was before we went, and he was on the holiday a little bit more lethargic than normal. He'd had a bit of a seizure on the plane, which, not like a drop on the floor seizure, but he used to have these seizures where he would like, his voice would suddenly, like, his brain wasn't connecting, so he'd just start saying, like, weird stuff. It was pretty bad, to be honest, because on the plane they were terrible. The British Airways were pretty bad.
You mean the airline?
The airline, yeah.
What way were they bad?
Because he was having a seizure as we were landing.
Right.
And I got up because I could sense it. I just used to, he had this weird, like almost like he was having a stroke look on his face. His mouth would drop a bit. And I was like, Ross, you all right? And then I moved Texas out of the way, and the air steward came up and she was like, you need to seatbelt. And I went, yeah, he's having a seizure. Like, I need to sit with him. And she went, okay. I actually went, he's having a seizure, he's got brain cancer, I need to sit with him, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Or, like, you'd think they'd kind of be like, what can we do? She went, okay. And I was like, shit. It was really weird. So, like, but on the holiday itself, he was really good. And we had a nice holiday. Our friend that lives out there was amazing, and she paid for us to go for like 5-star meal and like took the kids from us, and we actually had a really amazing time. And coming back, it was Ross's 32nd birthday on the Thursday. On the Wednesday, we were sat, me and the girls, and we were writing 32 reasons why we love Ross, why we love Dad. And as I'm writing this, I mean, the poignancy of this is like not lost on me. Like, we were writing that, and I looked over and he was sort of chattering, and I thought, is he on the phone to someone? And I thought, oh my God, he's not, he's having a seizure. And the girls were obviously there, and the kids are amazing. Like, they knew that when Dad has a seizure, we had already set out rules for what happens, and it was to go and get the neighbours. They take themselves to the neighbour's house. So I went, Brooke, Daddy's having a seizure, go next door. So she went next door and got the neighbours, and the kids were out the way, so they didn't see it. But it was from then, like, he didn't, for me personally, that's when we lost Ross. Like, for everyone else, they can pretend, it was easier for them to pretend for longer, but he was brain damaged from then. Like, he wasn't, at the start, it was almost funny because he was saying weird stuff. Like, the next day he was going, I'm going to London today, aren't I, for squishy milkshakes. And I was like, no, mate. And the nurses were like, is he going to London? And I was like, no, he's not going to London. So for everyone else around, they could pretend for, a good few weeks before he actually went really bad. But for me, I was like, like even the hospice, a lot of people go back to hospices, and as much as it was as good an experience as a hospice can be, I have no emotional attachment to that hospice in terms of Ross. In my mind, Ross didn't go in the hospice. Like, it was a version of Ross, but it wasn't Ross. And so that's hard for me to...
I'm trying to understand, because I've got very limited knowledge on what it's like to actually experience being around somebody who's having these problems. But the way you're describing them, it's almost like the brain sort of disconnects a bit from the person.
Yeah, I think it's almost like dementia. Mm-hmm. So like bits of the brain are starting to go. And for me, when we told the girls, it was really important for me to do it when we did, and I'm so glad I did, because he was still like lucid enough to be able to kind of be okay. He could have, a week later, I could have said that, and he could have said sandwiches and barked. Like, I can't, that could have happened because there was no, like, his brain was just malfunctioning. Basically, by the end, there was lots of tumours all around his brain. Right. And so it was just affecting areas you couldn't anticipate. And so, yeah, it was just, it was a weird thing, like, because I'd gone from, like, when I met Ross, like, he was so on the ball. Like, he's the person that you would rely on the most for anything. Like, if you needed something done, you'd get Ross to do it. Anything organised, like, so it was a really weird thing for me to suddenly not trust his judgment on anything, because at the start he was still talking, and he thought he was fine, and the doctors had to say, Ross, I'm really sorry, but you're not going to be saying anything that's right from now. And at the start, I mean, for him, imagine someone saying to you, you can no longer trust your own brain because you still think you're right. Mm-hmm. And so the start for me, when he came out of the hospital initially, was really hard, because I knew that he was like this, walking all over the place, and yet he wanted to go upstairs, and our stairs are like badly steep, and I was like, Ross, you can't go upstairs, mate, like, you can't. And he was like, the fuck, like, why can't I go upstairs? I can go upstairs. And then he'd get upstairs, and like, I'm like 7 stone and something, and like 5'1". I'm a miniature person. Like, as hard as I think I am in my head, that's just the Geordie in me. I'm not going to be able to, lift a dead weight, which is what I was doing in the end. Like, in fact, when he came back and before we went into the hospice, and I was the one looking after him, and we had carers, but they were like coming in a couple of times a day, making cups of tea, and I just hated every second of it, quite frankly, because it was like having slaves, and just like they couldn't do anything to help Ross. And I was physically having to lift Ross, like being on the bed, pulling him up, and like actually having to move him. And
he was a very big bloke as well.
Yeah, I mean 6 foot, yeah. And he was a skinny lad, but he
He was tall, wasn't he?
Tall
and massive for you to be
massive for
around.
me. Like, it doesn't, it's hard enough me lifting the kids, never mind a man. And when the nurse came out on the day before we went in the hospice and I was explaining what I was doing, the nurse burst into tears and she was like, "This is ridiculous. Like, we're waiting for a disaster to happen. Like, you're going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt." And he wouldn't let anybody else near him because I was the one that he trusted to be near him and to help him. And so it was just that being at home was the hardest point, because it was just, I mean, me and Ross, like, were the most open couple in the world. Like, there was not a thing that I hadn't, whatever. We're not bothered about anything. But we're the most open couple on everything and not bothered about anything. But there's a difference when someone needs you to do something and someone messing about and joking and suddenly you're doing stuff like... I mean, he used to joke. I mean, this is how just, like, awful he would be about stuff. There was no boundaries on stuff. Like, he was talking about euthanasia, like, when he was, like, first diagnosed, like, just kill me off. On the way to his second surgery, he went to me, and this stuck in my head, and I think I've mentioned this in videos before, but he just went, if I'm, like, fucked after this, like, this surgery, like, just kill me, like, take me somewhere and kill me. Some people couldn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's the worst thing, it's not a nice thing to hear, but I know, like, how honest he was. And he said to me, "I just don't want you fucking feeding me yogurt. I don't want that." And in the hospice, I was feeding him yogurt. And for me, like, as much as I'd be like, it's kind of funny because Ross would laugh at it, I'm like, I found that hard. And the doctors had to say it to me, because I said that to them, and they were like, "But it's not, this is a different version of Ross now. Ross just needs you to do what you got to do. Like, he doesn't need you to be what you were for him before." And that was different. But he would be ruthless on all of that. Like, he wouldn't, he would say to me, like, when he was fine, he'd be lying in bed and he'd be like, "Oh, put my socks on for me, put my pants on for me. This is what you're gonna have to do when I'm fucked." Like, and we would joke about that stuff. He'd be like, "Just fucking lift me up," and I'd be like doing it as a joke. But it's a big difference when someone's like,
for real,
as like brutal as our conversations would be. And to be honest, I don't think there's many people that could stomach living with someone with autism who's going through that, because there's no boundaries to, like, what they will say. His mum, bless her, she's like the loveliest woman in the world. Hard for hard for a mum to hear their son say, "I'll be dead soon."
It takes away a lot of your decisions, I guess, as well, because when you've got the decision to joke about it, that's great. But if you have 100%. That decision taken away, so what was that like for you? You talk a lot about him, obviously. What about you going through that as a wife, watching the husband sort of lose what made him maybe?
I think it was a real adjustment at every stage. Like, when he was first diagnosed, the biggest thing was the driving thing, and suddenly our roles reversed. Like, our roles were different, and that was hard, because, like, not that we had traditional roles, because we didn't, but there was definitely certain things like cars and like DIY stuff and things like that he, there was blokey stuff that I wasn't that bothered about, and he would do. And then suddenly it's like, I've got to drive him about. And he hated that. Was the biggest contentious thing in our relationship in the end. And realistically, like, there were times when he got in the car, like, I ain't gonna stop him doing that. Like, what I had to realize is, like, from the start, I was trying to, like, go, right, you've got to eat this and you've got to do this, and maybe you could do it this way and you could do it that way, and, like, doing how I would do it. And I had to realize that's not who Ross is, and it wasn't just my journey. Like, it wasn't my journey, that bit. That was how, and I had to sort of let go of that, of trying to control it, and go, Ross will decide how this runs, and if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to do it. Like, when you're describing this, it's like, it feels like a superhero who's lost his powers a little bit, like, in a way, like, you're having to sort of, he's a normal person now, do you know what I mean? I know, like, because he was, from everything you've described and what I've watched in the videos, like, he's a pretty cool guy, he had a lot about him, and then now all of a sudden you're having to take the lead on a lot of things. It was like, I mean, for a long time it was easy to, like, not notice that. I mean, other people around maybe saw me filling gaps for him, and there was definitely near the end, weirdly, because we always said, like, when we met, we were both lone wolves who managed to live with each other and get on. Like, we were so self-sufficient. Like, I'm the most independent person, and so was he. And when we lived in a house together, it was like, I'm doing the washing, you'll do it wrong, I'm doing the washing. Like, it was not the normal. It was like, we had to learn to allow each other to do stuff because we were just so, like, self-motivated.
There's not many women around like that, is there, Lawrence? I'm doing the work. All right. You crack on. I'll see you later.
Yeah, but he had rules with the washing, like serious rules. One of the rules was, and they'll just impart this wisdom on you because it's important, socks should never, ever, from being put on or taken off, be more than a foot away from each other.
Oh, wow.
Ever.
That's the autism coming out big time.
It's a good rule. I mean, it really helps.
If he, like, we used to joke, like, because of the autistic side, like, if he was putting washing on the clothes horse, it would take him 45 minutes. It'd be perfection. It'd be work of art. And I mean, we joked about it, like, he knew, like, how bad that side was. Like, we'd seen counsellors about his autism and stuff and tried to sort of work through that for him, because he was diagnosed at 26, so it was late on for him.
Really late to be diagnosed.
We weren't really the era, though, were we, of, like, people being noticed. It was just, and because he wasn't unconfident, he was the opposite extreme, like, no boundaries. Hilarious, funny as anything for me, like, and I'd have to, like, pretend that I was, like, bothered by it and play like
apologise for him.
It's such a
even
skit.
Though secretly you're like, that's so funny.
He loved it though. It was such a skit because he just liked the idea of me being like, oh, Ross, don't do that inside. I'm like, it's funny as well, keep doing it, it's really funny.
Did you think he learned to cover it up? Because a lot of people with autism sort of learn, and that's why a lot of
we used to say, like, it was good for him to go out with an actor because, like, obviously actors are pretty much, we have less boundaries and we're so, like,
play roles.
We play roles and he had a script, and, like, we used to joke about it because there would be certain conversations that we repeated on loop, and, like, just scared little jokes and stuff, but we would repeat it. And if I'd said it different, he'd go, you're saying that different, can you just do it how you're supposed to do it, and then we'll be fine about it. But then in a weird, like, way that sort of backfires on me now, because wherever we used to go and wherever I go, where we would be together, which was pretty much everywhere, but, like, certain, like, going to IKEA, and I did a video about this the other week, I know what he would say at every stage. I know going into Newcastle, I know that going across the Tyne Bridge, he'd be going, oh aye, we're in the tune, go and get yourself a shirt, oh aye, like that across the Tyne Bridge every time. I'm like, yeah, I've heard that one before. I say, like,
said that last time.
But he said that last time, but he would say, like, everything would be on loop. So yeah, I mean, definitely he sort of masked it. He masked it with confidence and bravado and, like, being the one that said the harsher joke quicker, and so people couldn't really, like, it was just, oh, Ross, he's just, like, he's rude, like, he just says the wrong thing, like. But then when he was diagnosed, he was really relieved because he was like, see, like, told you there was something. But, like, that didn't make any difference. It just meant that I just learned to speak autistic language, which makes it weird now, because then people will be like, how long are you going to be? And I'll be like, approximately 7.5 minutes, and they'll be like, okay, so 10. No, I'm like, yeah, but if I'd said that to Ross, he'd have been like 10 minutes precisely then, and I'm like, no. But it's weird, like, I just learned to speak like that. But I think as his brain started to deteriorate, as he got ill near the end, even really in the last year, I could probably say it if I look back, it's just that I was close enough to it that I probably didn't notice it as much. There was definitely, like, the signs, the autistic traits got worse. So the level of control in his environment got worse. And obviously now, looking back, that was obviously the tumour growing and kind of pushing on areas and affecting things as well. So he started to want me there all of the time, needed to be around. And although we would joke about him because we were used to being together, actually looking at that now, there was a level of him needing me to be there, like, to sort of coax him through the day. Like, I just used to be. I mean, we're lucky in the fact that our work meant that we could do that and we could just be together. And, you know, now that he's not here, I'm glad that we had that time. But there was definitely that sort of side of me having to be around all the time to just go, come on, Rossi, come on, Flower, let's get moving.
Would you share, do you think he shared a lot of that with you, the emotional side of losing that function, or were you not that kind of couple?
We talked about, there's not a conversation I don't think we didn't have, and as much as this is hard for people to understand, he wasn't sad at all about it. It's really a weird thing, but when me and Ross met, he used to say, I'll be dead by the time I'm 30. That's a weird thing to say, But he was like, I probably fucking will be. He used to say to me all the time, I'm due a funeral. Who says that? I'm due one of them. Like, he just saw life scientifically. Like, you know, just evolution.
Matter of fact.
Like, at his funeral, the funeral was pretty amazing. And the woman was like a, what do you call them? Humanist, that's the one. Humanist funeral. And we really like had his story in it, and it was so like true. Like, everything was just about, like, it was matter of fact. And I think there was a bit in the funeral where she said, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was saying, you know, for Ross, there was no more reason for him to have cancer than a leaf that falls off the tree being the leaf that falls off the tree, and that is it. And we saw life like that. And so for me, you know, Ross dying in the hospice, it's really a weird way, because I don't have God, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I believe in science, and I believe in energy, like, because it's not really something you can't not believe in. But like, I never had that attachment to Ross's body in the same way that people might. So for me, it was like science. Like, I was like, I detached from Ross being that the person that I was sort of feeding, and by the end, just his body, like, as matter of fact as that is, and it's hard for people to understand, I'd detached from that and allowed that I'd lost Ross a month ago, and that this was his body doing what bodies are supposed to do and breaking down.
And did you, I think we've all of us have lost someone close to us, but I think some people deal with grief in that way, don't they? How was that the way that everyone around him approached that? Because that's not always my experience with people who grieve.
It's a rare attitude to take, isn't it?
I think it's a way of coping in a way.
Yeah, I think so. And I was also advised by people who think like me to detach. Like, I actively detached from that. It wasn't because it emotionally, you don't need to, like, we sort of said this in the way, but you don't need to feel all the feels all of the time. You don't have to put yourself through that.
No.
And this is something that I teach people now, is that, like, it's not about being not in touch with your emotions. It's just that self-preservation, in some instances, you need to detach from it.
It's healthy. Some people feel the need after a death, I think, to press the self-destruct button. And I've done that a bit in my time, and I realised, I was like, why am I doing this? Is it a tribute act to the fact that how much this person meant to us? I don't have to destroy my life to prove to everyone and myself how much I love that person.
But there is a performative side to it, though. To grief, isn't there? That's the weird thing.
I think there is as well. And I find, I'm not like trying to put this on myself, but because we were really together as a close-knit family in the hospice, I got to, and because people respected how me and Ross were together, and knew how close we were, and knew that, like, I knew Ross like inside out, and I knew what he would think. It was almost like people would come to me and say, but what would Ross think about this? And I would say, like, I know what Ross would think about it, because we've spoke endlessly about life and death and what we think about stuff.
You're asking me that question. I'm not asking you that question. Yeah. There's the answer to that, because I fucking know.
Yeah.
That's what, do you know what I mean?
That is it. Like, and I think everyone I think when I started to talk about the stuff that I believe in, like, I think it helped the people around me, because they could have went into what you think grief's supposed to be like, the performative aspect to it. And I definitely think there is that for some people, that they feel they need to be like wailing and wearing a black veil and stuff. And
I've seen people at funerals before acting like, I'm like, you barely even like the person.
Oh, don't
what even being here for a start, mate.
I know.
I'm like, you
and
literally
the people
didn't
who know them the
monkeys.
least want to grieve the most in front of you, and I'm like, it's not like, I think there was a point, and I sat, and I do self-develop myself. I life coach myself, and I sat there and I thought, because there was so much in the press about what was happening, and I know I'd put myself out there, so that's on me, but there was so much like eyes on me. What's she going to do next? What's going to happen next? That I sat and I was sort of second guessing myself a little bit, and I had to sit there and think, you don't live your life the same as anybody else in any aspect. There's not a thing that you do that is normal, like sort of normal way of working, normal way of living. Why the fuck do you think you're going to do this the same as everybody else? And I had to sit there and think, just fucking do it how you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, put your fucking makeup on, get dressed, meditate, fucking put your videos out, laugh, do what you need to do, because I know that Ross would have done the same. And that's just the way I thought of it. And I think that sort of attitude from me helped others around me to sort of allow them off the hook, like, and not like, don't cry, because I cried as well openly. But
you've got to take control of the situation at some point, and you just happen to do it prior to his death, which is unusual. But as you say, and I back this up because I've watched your videos and I watched them as you were making them. That was one thing that hit me, is you had, I don't know if detached is the right word, but you'd accepted what was about to happen for sure, and that's probably why you were so much more together and your mind was so mapped out and clear of. You were saying things which blew me away, like you were talking about the children, and you said at one point, we are going to be better people for this experience. And I'm not saying that means that we're going to be rainbows and sunshine, because at every milestone in my children's lives, there's also always going to be that little grey cloud where we're thinking, it'd be nicer if Dad was here. But we are going to be better people for this, because we're going to learn to appreciate each other more, etc., etc. And I just thought, what a deep, forward-thinking thing that was to say in the midst of pain and suffering.
I think we'd all, Ross said it before surgery the second time, and he said, we'd been together 9 years, and he went, it won't seem enough. It on paper, that doesn't reflect who we've been as a couple. And I totally understand that. It's almost and Ross's life was full, really full. At 32, what he had done and the experiences that he'd had, I don't mean any big fucking mountain trek, but he'd lived his life, and he'd barely, he never didn't do it 9 to 5. He'd done what the fuck he wanted every day, because he grafted his arse off at the start to be able to do that, and he took some risks and he did some stuff. And he used to say to me, and we actually put it on the funeral cards, he said, just tell him I was all right. Tell him I was a good bloke. I was happy. I enjoyed my life. He said in the last year, he said categorically to me, when I die, I'm happy. I'm happy with what I've done. I've done what I wanted to do. And I don't think at 32, many people could say that. No. I don't think many people could be. And so for me, that gives me a level of comfort to go, do you know what? Sometimes people just come here and they do their thing, and then that's it. There's no more than that. They don't get that full life. But what we had as a couple in that short time, and we appreciated it. We used to say I'd bank moments. In my head, it would actually be a thing I would think about, and it wouldn't be the big moments. It wouldn't be the big party or the big event. It would be sat watching telly, and for a minute I would just take myself out of it and think, we might not get this again. And that might seem like a horrible thought, and you should be thinking hopefully all the time, but I would just acknowledge how fucking lucky I was to have it in the moment. I view
that as a petrol tank, you're almost filling up for later, and then you're going to use that to sort of travel off of. Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
I've had sort of stuff like that. I've done those things before as well.
You just got to and I would take, if you followed me on Instagram or whatever, you do follow me on Instagram, don't you? Holly Matthews 84.
Just links are in the description.
Yeah, thanks.
All of your stuff's in the description, by the way, so
cool.
They can check you out.
And if you follow me on there, I take pictures of everything, and I'm glad. And I did it purposefully. There was moments I took that were nondescript moments, but they weren't nondescript to me. They were things it could have been the kids painting the walls of the house with Ross, and there was part of me that understood that we might not get that again, and that at any stage we might not have Ross. And so I would take a photograph of it and think the girls will need this. And even when Ross was dying near the end, I took photographs, and honestly the photographs I can't look at now, because he was not Ross, and I can tell. But when the girls are older, it would just be a picture of them with Dad smiling, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what my filter is on that. And
he would want them to have that.
Yeah, and there was a time 2 weeks before Ross died in the hospice, I stopped the girls coming in because it was too much, and I couldn't. They just didn't need to see it. You don't need to see that.
There was a moment you described to me on the way in where you said you were on the way to Boots and you had to buy nappies for him, and you were like, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah, and you had, that was one of your hardest moments by the sounds of it.
I haven't put that. I made a video of it, and I said to you, I've made videos that I haven't put out, and I might at some point, but I made them for myself to make sense of it at some point in how the darkest moments. And again, there was probably a level of me going, maybe the girls need this at some point, maybe someone else will make sense of what they're going through with this, and I just want to put it out there. I didn't want it to be out there then, because I couldn't have dealt with people seeing that at that time. I don't need to bear everything. Right. But there was a video that I made. It was the night before he went into the hospice, and he suddenly became incontinent, and that wasn't something that had happened. Suddenly it happened one night, and it was quite late, and I was on my own, and the kids were asleep, and I was like, shit, like I can't lift him. Like I was actually like fully having to lift him. He was falling on me. He was pissing the bed, and I was just like, and I phoned his mate, and I said, look, Jake, he lives near us, like, can you come round, please? His best mate. And he came round, and I said, just need to go. I need to go and buy him nappies. It was like the last like 10 minutes before the store closed. I'm like darting into Boots, and I'm in the middle of Boots buying nappies and like thing what we put on the bed and whatever. And I sat in the car afterwards. It was raining. I'm sat in the car, it's dark. I'm sitting there with nappies, and I'm looking at like Next, where we'd been, you know, the month previously buying house stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening here? Like, I'm sat here buying nappies for my husband who's like pissing and shit in the bed. Like, what? Like, how is that happening?
How did you make sense of that?
And the next day was like, I went back and got him sorted and stuff, and the next day was the day when I went, I need some help. Like I'm not helping him here. He's uncomfortable. Like I'm not. It's not like Ross had never been like, oh, I need to be at home when I die. And he was like, what the fuck? Just do what you need to do. Like he didn't see it like that. There was no sort of nostalgic like, I need to be here, and like, you know, there was nothing like that. And so I just thought, you know what, if he's there, he's going to be comfortable, and I can actually be his wife maybe for a week or so. And that kind of did happen, because I didn't have to change his nappy, I didn't have to wipe his arse for him, I didn't have to try and get him to take tablets, which became again an issue. And when he was still lucid enough to argue with me, he wouldn't take tablets, and they were like, he needed to take them. And we'd spend most of the day me going, Rossi, please take the tablet, please. And I couldn't get him to take them, and it was just distressing. It was really distressing. And so getting him in the hospice, even though, you know, he was there a month, and he became like sleepy and then died, it gave me at least a week where I could at least maybe say things, even though I know it wasn't fully him. There was moments when he had like a bit of him left, and so we'd have conversations, and you know, that was enough for me to make peace with stuff in my head, I think, just to sort of, yeah.
Can you were you like there when he died, and can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, so the morning of it, we had an amazing nurse that was there all through the night and stuff with me, and she'd been great. And I'd actually, when we first came in, I was getting quite panicky because I didn't know, and people might not get this, but I was Googling what the stages of death are. Like, it's like, what happens to people's body? Like, how does it break down? How am I going to know? Is he just going to... I was asleep in the room with him, so they allowed me to stay over. I was there every night, every second, like, because I needed that. Like, I needed to be there. Like, for me, it was like, that was important. And so I'm lying in the bed, and I was thinking... This was like the first week. I was like, is he going to... And then the nurses kind of spoke to me and said, actually, we know when people are going to die. Usually we kind of know when it's going to happen. We can tell by their breathing. We can tell by certain things. Their body does certain things, and he's not quite there. And I was like, okay, let me sleep. And then on the day that his breathing was... I mean, he hadn't eaten for 2 weeks. I mean, that for me was hard because Ross wasn't a big guy, like... And he got the biggest beard, like, well, put your beard to shame, like, and it was like massive. And I kept saying, he fucking loved this if he saw this. He fucking loving this. He was like a rock star. And that actually helped because we couldn't see how skinny he was, to be honest. That was really distressing because you're just watching somebody starve to death, like. And so he was really skinny, and he'd been asleep for about a week and a half, and he was just breathing, and then his breathing was just rattling. A death rattle, they call it, and he was doing that. And in the morning, the nurse had been chatting with her for a bit, and she'd been in the room for about half an hour, and his mum was actually staying at the hospice as well. They had these like flats, and the nurse said, I think it's time to get mum. I'm not sure, but I think. And then I phoned her and got her over, and then we phoned his dad and his sister, and his brother's a footballer, plays for Doncaster, and his brother, it was on the Saturday, so it was a football day, although it was pre-season, so he had one game. But we rang him, we said, like, do you want to be here, or have you made peace? Like, and he was like, I'm going to play 45 minutes, I'll come off and at half time and I'll come, but I don't need to be there. And he'd kind of made peace with that. And so we were all there, and in the morning he took what we thought were his last breath, and he stopped. And it's really weird because they can sometimes stop. Looks like they've stopped breathing for like a minute, and you're like, that's it. And then they take another breath, and you're like, oh my God. And so he did that, and the nurse rushed me, and we got there, and his mum, and I went, I think that might be it. And then his mum kind of like did what mums do and was like, come on, Ross, and he breathed again, and then he took this one last breath, and then for the rest of the day he was just breathing like normal. So we were like, okay, so maybe it's not it yet. And weirdly, like, you know, like sort of gallows humour and that, like where you like start laughing about stupid stuff, the rest of the day, because his dad went, after about an hour, he went, Dion, that's his mum, went, I don't know what you did there to bring him back. And I'm
so she resurrected him.
Yeah, so I'm going, all right, Jesus, fucking hell. Yeah. I'm like, oh,
it's mad how you find humour in
so
situations
weird. We were
like
sat like taking the mick out of her, calling her the Messiah for the rest of the day. Like, I mean, that is messed up. Like, but you need that.
You have to.
And then when he died, I'd actually gone out of the room for the first time, like for about a fucking week, and went to go and eat something, and his sister was sat next to him, and then suddenly the alarms went off, and I'd only been out there about 10 minutes, and the nurses ran me in, and we got in, and he basically talked about 2 or 3 breaths as I was there, and we got there, we were all there, and his sister afterwards was like, I just said I loved him. She's like, I think I've killed him. But you know, it was, I mean, nice isn't the word, but it was what it was. And by then, for me, I just wanted it to be over for him. Like, I'm not gonna, like, for the weeks prior to that, you know, I think I did say this, it's a weird, messed up headspace to be in, that you're like clinging to them, wanting them to be there, but then equally like just like, oh, it's enough now. Like, and at that end, I was, you know, just saying, like, is, you know, mum's instinct, mums want to go, and I can't understand his mum's journey, because it's too painful for me to even, as a mum, even get into that headspace, because that's your child. It's not the right order of things.
Yeah, not supposed to happen like
so it's
that.
not supposed to happen that way, and so I can't even contemplate that. But, you know, as a mum, she's like saying what mums say, you know, just don't go. And I was saying, it's enough, like, it's okay, you can go now, like, and you know, it was just a weird thing, because it was just a nothing thing. Like, I know that sounds a weird thing, but it was just like, okay, that's it.
As in, some people would imagine it to be like the movie moment, whereas the reality is a lot more normal.
Yeah. And then it's like, I mean, it sounds a strange thing, I guess, but on the day, I packed all my bags up, because I didn't want to do that after. I didn't want to be like packing stuff up, like as if like, let's take the pictures, and
right,
people had sent so much stuff, and like I didn't want to be like doing that then, so I did it early on and got everything out that I need, so I didn't have to be like, it's just as a weird thing. We'd been there a month, like we'd lived there was stuff there, and it was like clearing his stuff up and doing that was just weird. So we did it all before, and then then they just kind of say to you like, what do you want him to be wearing and stuff, and like, and he already had his Chef Wednesday shirt on, and I was like, just that, like, it's weird. Like, I detached from that being Ross. I mean, even at the funeral and stuff, like, you know, people, it's kind of weird, isn't it, in our culture, we put so much scope on their body, and it's like, that's not who they are. Like, to me, that's not who they are. It's just the vessel.
That's what hit me when I first seen a dead body. I was always like, wow, like, this isn't the real person, actually. But then it leads you to sort of question things in your head of, do spirits exist then? Because and I know we could talk about this for hours, but for me, this is the way I felt. It was like, God, it really does feel like the spirit has left the body, like the way they're just that energy goes, like it's like they're just, they're not there. Like, it was weird, like talking to the girls about it, and I'm so glad that we spoke about a lot of like life and death stuff before. I mean, Disney opens up that conversation, because there's a lot of death in Disney, and a lot of parents die in Disney films.
It's really dark.
It's so dark. And so like the kids have always sort of spoken about that stuff, and I'm really glad that they knew. I mean, the kids knew I didn't believe in God. I couldn't bullshit them and say that afterwards. But if they had said to me, I believe Dad goes to heaven, I'd have went with it. But what Brooke said, and it's like the most poignant thing ever, she just said, and she said this initially not with Ross, with my grandma died at the beginning of the year, and it was almost like a precursor to what might happen, and I kind of like knew that this might be, you know, this is their first experience of death. And she said, I said, what do you think happens? So I was asked the girls stuff, and I'm like, what do you think happens when people die? And Brooke just said, Brooke's sick, she said, I just think that when people die, the love that's in them just goes into all the people that are left behind, and then they just live on in the love. And I was like, that's pretty profound.
It's a pretty nice thing to say, isn't it?
Like,
I bet you were choked up as fuck.
I was like, I'll go with that.
That would kill me if a kid said that to me. I'd just be like, yeah, that's well, Texas,
perfect.
Yeah, Texas once said something like that. She said this was, again, it was ages ago, about a year and a half ago, whatever, and Texas just said, Mum, when people die, and Texie was 3 maybe at the time, she just went, when people die, where does the love go? She said, like, I was like, oh my god, like, shit, I don't know. And I mean, kids just are, they'll say exactly what they think, and that cuts the crap in itself, because I can't lie. Like, I'm not going to lie to kids, and I've always promised I will never lie to them about this stuff. Like, I will be completely honest in the best way that I can, but they've trusted me with that. You know, when Ross went into the hospice, Brooke said, Mum, will Dad be coming home? And I said, no, darling. And she said, so will he die in here? And I said, yeah, he will. And then 2 days before he died, she rang me, she Skyped me, and she went, Mum, I really, really miss you. Like, I mean, for them, it was like, I hadn't been there either. They were being with my sister or with Ross's dad, and she said, I really, really miss you. But I know that when you come home, it means that Dad's dead, doesn't it? And I said, yeah, it does. And actually, as brutal as that was, when I did have to come home and tell them, walking through the door, I mean, I spoke to, and I've talked about this, but I spoke to Jeff Brazier, Jade Goody's ex-partner. Yeah. I spoke to him initially when I was going to tell the girls, and I got his sort of thoughts. I mean, I didn't know Jeff before. We'd met at some show years ago, but because he talks about grief, I'd followed him on Twitter, and he does life coaching and stuff, so I'd kind of seen what he was talking about, and we'd maybe tweeted back and forth, and then he just said, let me give you a call, when I was in the hospital, and we spoke. And then on the day I was telling the girls that he died, he just we spoke before that, and he just said, make it a special day. He said, make it, you know, if you can get balloons, he was like, make it something that it's not this frightening thing. And I told them, we had a cry, we had biscuits, and then we sat down and we said, Brooke said, can we draw some pictures of Daddy? And I said, let's do that. And so we got all the crafts and arts out, and we drew pictures, and we just got on with it. And that's kids' way of dealing with it. And for me, like, children's drawings are really telling of how they feel. And so Brooke had drawn all the family, everybody, like, and it was all brightly coloured, which again is a good sign, like, for drawings. It was all positive and everyone was smiling. And she'd drawn Ross, but Ross was just slightly away from everybody. And I think I've kept that, because I think at some point she'll look at that and understand that was like directly after what had happened.
One video you made recently was titled "My Daughter Told Me She Hates Me," and I thought, we're at that stage now.
We're at that stage.
Yeah, because obviously, they go through that. But when you were talking, I could tell it hurt you a little bit, but you rationalised it perfectly. But what, just for people who haven't seen it, what was that like? Basically,
I mean, again, Jeff Brazier had said to me, they'll say things like that, and I guess that sort of protected me a little bit, because I knew that would come up. I mean, kids say it anyway, and sort of 6-7-year-old kids are starting to get that stage. I mean, I remember when Brooke was like 4, and she said to me one day, I hate you, I want another mummy. No, I want another mother, she said. And I went, all right.
That's really formal.
Yeah, that's what I said. I went,
can I send an application?
I'm applying for another mother, so I need to
divorce you.
Okay. I've collected all the cereal packets.
I just went like this. I just went, yeah, well, it's, you know, this ain't a fairy tale. This, all right, Hansel and Gretel.
Daughters and their mothers, for a start, are not notorious for that type of talk. Anyway,
I left home many times as a kid.
And they are marched out. It's all dramatic.
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
you wrote a letter, and then left it. They didn't even notice it.
I'm just out in the garden.
Yeah, in the tent.
They can always see you. That's what you don't know, is when you're leaving home, your parents
absolutely laughing their heads off.
Yeah, they're literally like, look at him, he's out there with his little stick in his bag. What a weirdo.
Just like that.
Yeah, all dramatic and like filmic about it. Yeah, no, she I mean, Brooke we've actually turned a corner in the last week, and we still have it, but I mean, some of it's just normal kid stuff, and it's kind of me recognising when it's frustration because of things that, I mean, it's not just directly like, all right, Ross's dad died, but everything's changed for the girls. They moved schools, we bought a new house, we got a new car, because our car was a disability, it was a multibility vehicle, so I had to give that straight back, like, and then buy another car. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't feel sorry for myself. I got another car. It's like Western world problems. It is what it is.
It's one of those things.
But for the girls, it was like everything changed, which has been good in lots of ways, because it's not like we're pretending their life is the same, but also that's really unsettling. And so it's not just dad's not here, it's everything's unsettled. And yeah, so the day that Brooke was, I mean, yes, the other day she said, I mean, she go mad at me for telling you this, because she was,
I won't tell anyone.
She doesn't watch. She won't
watch this. No,
not yet.
No.
She will one day.
Yeah.
She will one day. She'll be like, Mom. She'll kill me.
Why'd you wear that t-shirt?
Yeah, why did you wear that? What were you wearing, Mum? Who did you think you were? Yeah, so the other day she was like, one day I'm going to bite you and I'm going to kick you, and that's it. That's what's going to happen. And I hate you. And I went, all right, okay, well, I always say there's consequences to your actions, so do what you got to do.
Exactly. I say the same to Brian when he says that to me.
Do you? There's consequences.
There's consequences to your action, Brian.
You bite me, you hit me, and
I bite you and I kick you.
Yeah, and there will be consequences.
We've had very similar conversations.
I've sensed that mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, I suppose that's finally what we've finally realised we are in this situation.
Normally it's unusual though, because normally the mother has bigger boobs than the daughter, but that's it. But what is interesting about that is also there are two girls who have lost a dad, and I know other people lost a dad to cancer, and they found that particularly painful because it was later on in their life. Are you glad in a way that they lost their father when they were quite young, so it becomes a bit more normal?
I guess there is an element of that. I guess, I mean, I suppose there's always that, and I guess it may be me imposing my own thoughts on it, but you start thinking about the future and you start thinking, oh, they won't have this with him, but I try not to think of that, because I just think, well, then that's their reality, you know, that is what it is. Like, I can't change that about what's happened. And I mean, they've both dealt with it in different ways, and they were very close to Ross. Like, Ross always wanted girls. Like, it wasn't like he wanted boys, he always wanted girls. To be fair, he did used to say girls look after you later in life. Obviously that wasn't the case for him, but
does he have any sisters or anything?
He's a brother and a sister. Right. So his brother is it's very, very hard for his brother, because Ross was the man about the family. Like, he was like in control of stuff, probably too much for them.
Comes across when you talk about
and he was like, you know, he looked after them, he did, and for his brother, he was almost like a father figure to him. He was a mentor. Like, Matty's a darling, and he'll laugh at me when he watches this, but he's a darling. You know, sometimes footballers aren't the brightest. Love you, Matty.
So his big brother guided him.
So Ross would tell him off all of the time, and so I think actually it's weird. His group of mates, like, it makes me sound like such a lad, but I'm in a lads group chat on WhatsApp from when Ross was ill, but the lads are all like, one of the things that they miss the most is being told off. They're like, you know, one of his mates posted in the group chat the other day, he'd put a Facebook, you know, obviously Facebook comes up with memories and stuff, and there was a Facebook where he'd been like really soppy about his missus, like, gonna get married soon, or was all like that, and Ross had just put, you soppy cunt, underneath, and like absolutely slammed him, and he put this in the group chat, and he was like, who's gonna keep us in check? Like, who's gonna sort us now? And his brother particularly is feeling that, you know, like after a football match, he'd ring Ross, and Ross would absolutely dissect the game and be like absolutely slam him on everything. Ross would pick his football boots for him, like he would do it, because Ross was a football boot nerd, like, and football kit stuff. And so all of that for his younger brother, like, that's really brutal. Like, it was like they were really close, and so that's really hard. And his sister in a different way, like, they weren't close in that way, but loved each other like so much, and he would, you know, he was a kind person. He would make food for people and just bring it round, just give it to them, like he was a good cook, so he would do stuff like that. And I think everybody's just going through their own journey with it, I think, at the minute, and it's just recognising that everyone's journey is different.
You know the stages of grief, and to me there isn't a formula at all. I think the way people mark it out as if you just, you get to A and then, you know, then you work your way down to Z and you'll be fine. But it obviously sometimes you'll jump from D to back to B, and sometimes you'll think I'm finished now, I've accepted it, and then a week later you're crying in IKEA, as you said, that happened to you. 100%. Do you feel like there's a stage that you're at, or have you got a feeling of grief in general right now?
It's a weird thing. Like, I feel like everyone around me is waiting for me to absolutely break down. I feel it. Like people have said things like to my mother-in-law, like, does Holly cry? And she's like, obviously. But I don't think I will. I'm not like not open to having a breakdown. Like if it happens, it happens. I have no judgment on that on myself. Like I'm perfectly entitled to a breakdown if I want. But I feel like I'm on top of my own mindset enough that I just don't think I will. I'm allowing myself to cry. I'm forgiving myself when I feel like I'm going into like distraction mania and I'm like working myself too hard. I know that that's happening. I can see the signs of that happening, and I kind of keep in check. And if I don't, someone will be on my case. Like I can usually tell before that's the case. But I feel like I'm probably, it's not. It's going to be those moments. It's going to be those Christmas. That's coming up. Like, it's going to be those, and then there'll be them the next year again, and it's just going to be. I think it's for me, and we said this, I can't pretend Ross isn't here. Like, I can't pretend he's just somewhere else. Like, from the minute that he died, I didn't have my mate there. Like, we used to joke about it all the time with people, but, like, we were together all the time. Like, we just, and not, like, in some kind of way, like, we actually enjoyed each other's company. Like, and I think that for other people, they can just, like, and you kind of said this as well, like, their direct life isn't affected.
There's a difference, I think, between, and it's not that the level of love is different, but
no.
It's just for people, when someone you live with dies and then someone you don't live with dies, it is different because every single second existence changes, and it doesn't mean it's any less important if you don't live with them, but it's harder to ignore. It's so in your face, like, every day, all day.
Like you would be doing that stuff with them, and suddenly, I mean, I think it was a journalist asking me this the other day, like, what's the hardest thing? And I was like, it's not big stuff, like it's normal everyday stuff where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I think I probably didn't appreciate how much Ross did for me, and like in terms of mostly, and I'm going to say this now because I'm cold now and I'm always whinging about the cold, but Ross used to keep me warm a lot. Like, so he would just walk up to me during the day, just periodically throughout the day, and either hand me a cup of tea or a hot water bottle, because he would just know that I'd be cold at some point. Like, and even like that, like, or he'd get in the bed before me and like warm the bed up for me, just lie on my side. Like if I was in the bath, he would. Smart, yeah.
I love what he thinks.
Yeah. Well, you do that because you take up both sides of the bed.
I was just actually thinking, if anything ever happens to me one day, God forbid, I hope there's a woman saying I didn't appreciate him enough, because I would genuinely be like, I fucking knew it.
I know.
There goes True Geordie. I must remember to thank you.
Yeah, that's it, sneaking out.
Oh, genuinely, man, I love being appreciated.
If you are cold, we can close the window because the window's open. You guys continue.
I'm always cold. Like, that's.
You are tiny, though, to be fair.
There is a degree difference or something between men and women, so that's why the conflict comes out.
That explains why women always want the heating on and stuff.
Always
like that.
want it on. Like, it just. Cover me in fleece and set me alight.
I'm asleep with the window open.
Oh God!
Dude,
yeah, but I bet you give off a lot of heat.
I'm like all the time. I'm a radiator. I'm a radiator.
Are you warm now?
Yeah, completely.
You
God, you're cold.
See what I mean?
Honestly,
feel.
She's touched
all
me.
women. All women.
It's fine.
I noticed this quite a lot though. All women touch their boyfriend as if they're the only man in the world that's hot. So all women go, wow, you're hot. And the man, instead of going, oh no, all men are hot, they all go, no, it's my thing. I'm actually really warm. Yeah. And you're like...
They're just accept.
It's the testosterone.
Genuinely, I've looked at a man before with anger. I was like, we're all hot, you know.
We're all hot.
Leave a jacket on.
Yeah, I'm the shittest Geordie in the world, it's been said. Like,
well,
Geordie girls are supposed to be like, take the cold, aren't they? Like,
well, to be honest with you,
there's three cities in the world where they go out and they look like they're in
Liverpool.
Well, there's Liverpool, Newcastle,
Glasgow's got
and Glasgow, and they literally
we're similar people.
Yeah, like they all just look.
But I would go out and not have a coat on.
Yeah,
I accept that, but inside, I'm not accepting being cold indoors.
You shouldn't. It's civilization.
There's no reason for that. Keep me warm.
Genuinely, I'm not just saying this, but one of the reasons I did say, all right, this is my first female.
Yeah.
Because you're a Geordie, but you're not just a Geordie. You actually I think you represent Newcastle women well.
Oh, good.
Personally, because I could have went for a Geordie Shore girl, for example.
Believe me, we thought about it.
Did you?
We didn't think about it.
How long did you
but
I don't know which ones.
I think you're like what the women I know, the proper strong independent women of Newcastle are like. Do you know what I mean? So,
do you know, I did, like, because I've lived like north, south and middle now, so I feel like I've got a kind of good judge of like the culture of the UK. And I didn't realise when I went to London, and there is a massive cultural difference.
Oh, fuck I.
There is massive.
I'm like a fish out of water.
No, but there is. When I came, and you'll find this without a doubt, Geordies are very direct people, and we just like like love it. Like, I mean, I went home not long ago and I had a pair of furry boots on, and I walked into Asda, just pulled up in Gosforth, pulled into Asda, and some girl went, I love your boots, they're lovely, where'd you get them from? And I went, oh, my people, like, I'm home. Like, you know, like, people just say what they think. And when I came to London, I found
in London people just ask you for change.
People are people one-on-one, but as a collective there was like a feeling of fear in London that I didn't experience in Newcastle. And you know, you speak to people and they're like, what do you want? And people used to say to me, all right, calm down. And I'm like, why are you so angry? I'm like, I'm not angry. Like, this is my normal temperament. Like, but there's a level of passion that, and this is going to make it sound right cringe, but there's a level of passion that Geordies have, and also a full-on like understanding of our history and background, like no other people. Like, we love being Geordie so much. Like, there is that like strength of like who we are, and we know our politics, and like we know where we've come from. And I don't know, I guess it just gets brought up in the generations and stuff. But even when I went to Coventry, they said, I'd say to people like, so what's good about Coventry? And they'd be like, it's shit. All of them like standardly would say that. That is
probably what real love is to me, is moving to Coventry for someone.
Do you feel that?
Because when you first said I moved to Coventry, I thought,
sent to Coventry,
you must have really liked him. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I didn't know about, do you know what Coventry sound? It's actually there. When I got to Coventry, I went, oh, this is a bit more northern. It's
names, though, isn't it? It's not a sexy name.
It's not sexy. Coventry. It's not a sexy place.
I don't think America will be adopting that for one of their cities.
Coventry.
What do you reckon there'll be kids called?
They're like
Birmingham, Alabama. They've got Manchester.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
They're not taking Coventry. That's safe.
They've not got a Liverpool though. They don't have. Oh, there is a Newcastle in America.
There's one in Australia.
There's one in Australia, right? Okay.
Obviously.
So yeah.
I'm an all right Geordie, but I recognise Geordie girls now. Like, there is a type. Like, and I didn't.
No shit.
Yeah, I didn't realise there was a type. Like, I sort of, people used to say, "Oh, you dead feisty" was always a word.
Yeah. You are feisty.
Yeah.
Your mom needed that because when all of the boys, the lads that we've got, swarm into your comments on your next video and go, "For Yari pet."
Yari.
I know you'll be able to handle it, so that's good.
I'm not sure they could be as weird as some of the stuff that I get sent.
Oh, really? Do you get sent no. Let's hear about that.
I don't even mean
what
like.
What did Lorraine give you?
Why did that thing?
She chopped her legs over.
Well, the thing is, we have a bit of an issue with ITV shows.
Oh, why?
Because have you been on This Morning?
Not yet.
Okay, you're going to go on.
You will be. You'll be getting a call soon.
Don't worry. As soon as you've been on this, the producers watch this show.
Have chatted to me as well.
Yeah,
Really, Luce, brilliant.
Brilliant.
The problem is you're positive about men. I
like men as well. But I just like people like what they are.
Give you a couple of quid.
Good point.
Yeah,
we've all been loose women. This morning, you can be Philip and I'll be Holly. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it sad?
Is it?
Was it
sad?
Was it hard?
Was it horrible?
Yeah,
is your life really bad? No. That's what they want to know.
What's
I'd
it
say,
like?
but I
and you go, yeah, it's good, and they're like, for fuck's sake, and you can see there's someone in their ear going,
make it sound.
Can you make her cry? Make her cry. Yeah,
we need the VT.
Yeah, because that's what. But then, do you know what? I think I am that person that can cut that crap like through. But that's why I'm back. I'm back on Lorraine on Monday. I'm back in there in December.
Really, you're back on Lorraine on Monday?
Yeah.
What? They invited you back?
Yeah, they're coming to Coventry.
You're joking.
So whatever.
Just for a little old you.
Yeah. They're coming. We're doing this is going to sound like a fun week, but it's childhood grief week this week.
Wow.
It's a fun week. It's a great fun week. So
I'm
Jeff
doing Brazier.
Yeah, I'm doing something with a charity called Way, Widowed and Young. Again, not a fun thing. It's not fun, but it's actually a very good charity. And so we're doing like a feature on that, and then I'm back in December. And the reason, I know for a fact, the reason I'm back is because I cut the shit, and because I'm not just giving them a talking point. I think, you know, being grown up on television and stuff like that, I do not care at all
I think that's clear.
About that. It's really clear. I'm not, like, nothing phases me. So, you know, me going on to Lorraine, for some people that'd be really daunting, and they'd go into their shell, and
they know you're going to deliver. They know you're going to give them that.
I just kind of thought, well, it's just like a chat, innit? Like,
but if I'm a girl sitting at home who's going through something similar, then that's going to make me feel a lot better knowing that you can come out on the other side of it. You know what I mean? And your life just doesn't end the same day.
I needed that. Like, I was looking for that, and I didn't really find it very easily. Like, I wanted, like, it sat in the hospice, I was like, I need to see people that have thrived during shit stuff. And I was like searching, I'm like, why are these people not out there? And actually something amazing happening. And, you know, I bang on my channel, I bang on about mindset and positivity and law of attraction stuff, and I fully believe all of it, and it's my life. Like, that's why my life is good, because I attract good stuff. And it's not magic. I don't mean like, oh, I'm attracting stuff. It's just because our brains can only focus on good or bad stuff. Like, if you're putting in shit into your brain and negative stuff, your brain thinks that's what you want to see.
We mentioned this beforehand on the way, as like, you meet people all the time who don't have that bad of a lives, but in their head they're the victim, and they seem to just always bring shitstorms on themselves, and then they wonder, why is it always me? Are you seeing your attitude?
Yeah, all you talk about is negative stuff, and this is the thing. Like, I'd never done that, but I sat in the hospice, and I'd had a few people be like those people, and I thought, no, absolutely fucking not. I'm not having it. And I thought, I'm only going to allow in my space, allow in my energy, the people that have got their shit together, and that is it. And I'm going to attract more of that. And I sat, and yes, I am a hippie wanker, but I sat and I meditated in the garden of the hospice, and I bet I look like such a twat, and I don't care, because meditation is a good thing. And I sat, and my meditation was on, I just want to focus on seeing the opportunity and the positive people, and I want to see those people. And no bullshit, half an hour later, I was sat on Instagram, and a business coach friend of mine was on there, and I saw that she was being featured in Forbes on the website. And I was like, oh babe, that's amazing, like, commented. She then inboxed me and went, you got to get on this. And she's like, I can hook you up. And I was like, get me in Forbes, like, the fuck, like, yes, please. Suddenly, within 10 minutes, I'm in a group chat with this, like, mega time coach, mindset coach, who we're chatting. I don't really know what the situation is with what she's doing. She's writing a book, and how she did it on female entrepreneurs. She's writing a feature for Forbes and in the Huffington Post, and people were paying for that privilege of doing a package with her and then being featured in Forbes and stuff. So I get in this group chat, and you know how she then Googles me, looks at my stuff, comes back into the chat, and she's like, look, I know what you said, I know where you are, like, I know you sat in a hospice, I know what's going on. And she was like, I lost my son to brain cancer. He was 5. I nursed him till the end. Like, you can have everything for nothing. Like, it was about $5,000 package. It was like, you get it all. Like, you'd be featured in the book, you'll be on Forbes.
Half an hour after you did that.
Half an hour after I did that. And as people think, oh, like, that's just bullshit. No, it's not, because I was open enough and asking for that. I was looking for that. I was looking for that conversation. I could have went with a negative mindset on Instagram. Fucking life is shit. And do you know what I've seen? Everyone's moaning status. I'd have seen more reasons to think life was shit, but I didn't. And because of that, better things have happened. And so it just depends how you look at stuff, doesn't it, really? Like,
it's perspective more than anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you plan on, you know, when you're going forward now, raising the girls. They call it being mum and dad. I don't know if it's that exactly, but trying to fill a big role as only one person.
I mean, there's certainly certain aspects that are difficult. Like, I think overall, I took, as much as Ross was a really hands-on dad, there were certain things that the majority of the parenting would be done by me, like the day-to-day stuff, the getting up in the mornings and stuff. Not that Ross didn't pull his weight, because he really did. Like, he cooked and cleaned and did all that stuff, but I think that side of it. But then there was always that element of a bloke's voice, a slightly stronger voice, and you know, not whiny mum's voice, which is what it becomes. And there is definitely that. But what I did, because Ross has such a close group of lad mates, I said to all the lads, and they love the girls as well, and they're amazing bunch of lads, and all really, really have been touched by what's happened and found it really difficult. And I just said, look, I said to the girls, look, if you need to talk to a boy, like the lads are there, and they know the lads. The lads are there, and if you want to phone one of them, they'll chat to you. And there has been a couple of occasions when, usually at night time, when I feel like maybe the conversation's on loop a little bit and it's repetitive and it's not really going anywhere, I'll say to the girls, like, do you want a boy chat? Like, do you want to chat to one of the lads? And they'll say who they want to chat to, and they'll give them a call, and the lads are brilliant, and you know they'll just chat to them, and they'll ask them stuff, and they've got a lot of sort of blokes around that can do that. I mean, Ross's brother Matty, like, you know, he absolutely, as much as he's in Doncaster, like, he can Skype them and they know he's there and stuff. And he has said to me a couple of times, you know, like when Brooke was saying she hated me, when we were going through like a tougher time with Brooke a few weeks back, he was like, you know, if you need me to come and step in, because, you know, physically there is that element as well. Like, you know, Brooke's 6, sometimes I've got to drag her up the stairs, not like hurting her before anyone starts phoning people, social services. I'm not battering my children.
Too late.
Yeah, but if I want to put Brooke on the naughty step, which we, you know, and she's kicking and screaming, physically it's getting harder. Like, there is things like that where you have to, you know, but I don't know, I think I always have in the back of my mind, what would Ross do in this instance? And I know how we parented. We're kind of the last bastion of like strict parenting, like what I say goes. And I don't mean that in a hard way. If you can negotiate with me, we've taught the kids to negotiate, but like, you ain't necessarily winning. Just like, if you don't eat your tea in time, you don't think you're getting put in, like, stupid stuff, but it's follow through really. And I think, you know, that there will be certain things that I'll need a bloke's influence for. Like, I will need to have you know, Ross's brother step in and be that person for them, because I'm not a bloke. Like, I know I swear like one, but I'm not actually a bloke.
Well, that shows how sensible you are, because you do hear some people who go like, I don't need a man, do you know what I mean? And like, it's not,
we bring different dynamics.
You can do it without a man, I'm not disputing that, but it certainly fucking helps to have, speaking from experience, when I didn't have a dad growing up, a lot of the time when he was out of my life for quite a lot of years, I was a total arsehole. And truthfully, I could have done with a good slap round the head off me dad.
You needed someone on top.
Oh, completely, to fear, full blown. And I'm not saying that that's what everyone needs. I'm just saying that's what I needed. You know.
No, but I think you do, and not even that side of it, like the discipline side. But just having a male figure there, like having somebody that they can have it. Like it's important. Like, I'm not a man hater. Like we all bring different things to the table. Like. And I think the girls definitely do need that influence around. I mean, we speak about, Brooke's been telling me that when she gets married, she was like, obviously. When she gets married, I love that. You know, she's like, when I get married, Mum, like, she's like, she said, I'm a bit worried. Because we've always said to the girls, weird is good. Like, be as weird as you need to be. Like, don't be like everyone else. I mean, we've had, across our old house, we had written across the wall, I want to be anything but ordinary, please. Like, painted on the wall. Like, I want the children to have that influence. In fact, this week, I don't know if I said this on a video, but this week Brooke was saying to me, we were talking about Ross, and I said, she's getting to that stage now where she's embarrassed about herself, like, or like what she's wearing and that. Like, she's like, I think she fancies a boy at school as well, Rudy. And so she's like, she's going, I know, it's so funny. And so she's going to school, she's like all like embarrassed. And I went, what are you getting all embarrassed? She's got a new scarf on. She's like, you know, people are looking at me like, and she's like, what? She loved this scarf on the weekend. Then she's in there, she's walking to school and she's like, what's this? Like, and I'm like, what are you being like that for? Like, and I'm walking in like full on, fake fur, full floor-length coat, like scarf on my head.
You're
like,
noticeable.
Yeah.
You definitely noticed. I was sitting outside King's Cross and I was like, yeah, that's definitely her. Like,
there she is.
Leather pants and fur coat.
Yeah, that's me. Like to be noticed. And I was like, Brooke, like, do you think Mum cares about what people think? I couldn't care less. I'm dressing for me, or I'm doing what I want. I said, Dad, to be fair on you, Dad would have been more embarrassing. I said, I'll get more embarrassing, but like, Dad had been hellish embarrassing. And she's like, why? And I'm like, oh, he had big plans. Like, he had big plans for you, you know, like, I said, he was going to pick you up from school in his underpants on a go-kart. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's what he would do. And he would have done it as well, probably been arrested. And she went to me, so Mum, that well, you'll have to do it then, because it's what Dad would have wanted. Played me. But then I stepped
just let us know what day you do that.
Yeah. What
school is that?
What school? Yeah.
That's unusual, all right? Yeah.
But
the weird side is obviously then Rudy's just around the corner and she's like, don't do that.
Well, she said to me that she'd be sound with it. She was like, what? Because I said I try to play out, because she was playing me, like saying Dad would have wanted it, like as if I'm going to back down, like, and obviously the competitive element to me is like, I'll fucking do it. I'll do it.
You can say that you two are definitely in them then, because they're instantly challenging you at your own game.
Massive time. And so I went, well, it's fine, I'm not going to do it now anyway. When you're in primary school, it'd be when you're in secondary school.
That's when we can afford a go-kart.
Yeah, we'll save up then, and the best pants.
Yeah, exactly.
And she went,
you gotta take your time.
And she went, it'll be fine, Mum. She went, because I'll be much weirder by then, and it'll be fine. I'll be like, there's my mum on the go-kart. And I went, yeah, being arrested, for putting up at a secondary school in that knickers in a go-kart.
It's what you would have wanted. I think that's. I think it's best.
The worst thing is,
it's going to be on the license plate.
It is what he would have wanted. He'd have loved that level of weirdness, any kind of like awkwardness, like that. Well, I'll tell you a story like recent, and again, this is that gallows like humour. Like his business partner went to his office, like they had their own office, and he used to work quite late at night and stuff, because his business partner has a proper job as well, and he's rang me at 10 o'clock, his mate JK, 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, why is he ringing me? Answers the phone, he was like, right, just walked into the unit, that's where they worked, and Ross is on the table. It's like Ross's ashes are on the table.
Right, okay.
Yeah. He's like, wasn't anticipating that, didn't expect to walk, and he's like, there's no ambiguity, like if you open the box, it says Ross Blair's cremated remains on the box. It's 10 o'clock at night. I hope
someone does that to him.
It's dark.
If I go.
Yeah, just leave you on. His mum had just put him out the way, like, because like we're not really into that stuff. But then,
down the toilet.
Yeah, sprinkling.
Video of it. Geordie's last vlog.
There goes Brian.
That'd make a great last vlog.
Yeah,
that's sick. But it would.
I'll see you later.
See you. Oh God. Then some sad. Will be music. Have you got any music at the end? The flush.
No, don't forget.
No, I'll still put the same end board on.
Oh, would you?
Yeah. It just cuts straight to boom, and
there he goes.
Such great moments.
And some flashback moments maybe would be nice. I don't know, whatever. Let's not do that.
So how's this entrepreneurship going for you at the moment?
Yeah, good. I don't really know anything different, so being an actress, I always kind of did other stuff, because I never wanted to be a skint actress. And
yeah, because you just so people know, you're in a lot of popular British TV shows.
Yeah, so I started in the Geordie one, Byker Grove, which some people were.
And Deck started there as well.
What kind of year was that?
So I started in 97.
Wow, so that would have been like my prime Byker Grove.
Oh yeah,
I probably do remember.
I was little Emma.
Right.
It was Emma, and she was a singer for a bit, and she was just really sweet. And she kind of
Face looks so familiar.
They wrote a part in for me, like, so I auditioned for something else, and then about 6 months later they wrote a part in for me, and I kind of I was in it for 7 years, and so grew up on telly. So I'm just so glad that social media was not around, although people like tweet me stuff and they're like, oh look what I found, a picture of it, and I'm like, I have to like laugh about it. I'm like, fucking get rid of it for God's sake.
I can't believe you
I'm not. And yeah, so I did that, and then I left to do singing. I signed to Sony for a bit and did Top of the Pops, MTV and all that stuff, but that was under a different name. It was under the name Summer Matthews. So if you Google search or YouTube search Summer Matthews, you'll find me singing. It's funny.
That is actually quite funny.
It is.
What else have you?
How do you rate yourself as a singer out of interest? Because some people.
I can sing. The song that I released wasn't really like it was a pop song. I'm really sure that I can sing, but I can
It was
sing.
on Radio 1 sort of thing?
Yeah, it was.
Actually, somebody wrote on your Wikipedia that you had like an Avril Lavigne sound.
It was like a pop rock.
Right.
Yeah, a poppy rock.
I can imagine.
I didn't write it. Yeah. I'm not going to sing it.
Who does?
Yeah.
Adele. Actually, apparently she writes a lot of her own stuff.
Does she?
Fair enough.
Ed Sheeran and Adele are the only people left, I think. I don't think there's anyone else in the music industry.
You can tell that Ed Sheeran writes.
And Stormzy.
And Stormzy. Who we listen to a lot in our car.
Yeah?
Yeah, the girls like it. Stormzy, Little Mix and Stormzy, the power. Kids, I know, they're so cool.
And you won like the bill and that one.
You were on the bill?
The bill, alright, the bill was my favourite one, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was a fan of the bill, and I took the call for the audition. I've never been so on my game for an audition. I rang my sister, I was like, the bills come up, and she was like, oh my God, I went, guess what part? And she went, prostitute. And I went, crackhead. I've got to get this. And I went.
Just following that sentence up with, I've got to get this.
I've got to be a crackhead.
I'm perfect. I'm really skinny. Yeah. It's fine.
Do you know what? I was a fat crackhead. It was Christmas in between filming, so like I was so fat as a crackhead. I'd have been brilliant now.
Like, sausages wrapped in bacon.
I couldn't. Like I was like,
addictive.
I'll be fine. And I look like a chubby crackhead, but I look rank. It's great. Like I went the day before doing the scenes, because I obviously got the part. He actually went to me. He was like, from your headshot, I'd never have cast you, but I went in like I went on the tube.
You took actual crack.
I took
You're
crack.
a method actor. You know what I mean?
I went in looking rough, and he was like, "It sounds like yes, you've got the part." And
she didn't even read. They literally walked in and they went,
"You've got the part."
Sorry, we were expecting an actor.
Yeah. I was on the tube like pretending like method in it. Like people were moving seats because I was like cracking
so
up.
Good.
Like I was proper. But the day before filming, I was like, I need to look proper rough. So me and my sister. I was living in Essex at the time, and we were down there, and me and my sister decided to get absolutely arsehole drunk, because I thought then I'll look really rough, right? Yeah. This seems like a good idea in theory. So we drank a bottle of vodka, a litre of vodka, and we went through you know, you talk about the stages of grief. There's a stages of drunk, isn't there? Like there's like that nice, I'm just cool, like this is fun, like cool. Then there's like the sort of more intense, we're having a deep and meaningful. Then there's the tears, then there's the anger, and then you phone people and you like leave messages, and then you think you're funny, then you pass out, whatever. So this was the level I was at, and I was a bit younger, so I was like ridiculous. I barely drink now, but then I did. And the next day I had to get up and go across London to film for like about an 8 o'clock call, and I was living in like Loughton in Essex, and I had to get off at Stratford on the Central Line to vomit on the floor. Like it was that bad.
We've all been there.
That bad. And then I went in and I was like filming, and they were all like, "This is great. Like this." Just
keep rolling. We'll work it in.
They were like, "This is really good." They didn't know
she's
I was
vomiting
like,
on
still,
command.
like still
incredible.
Like I was probably so drunk, and the director was saying stuff to me, and there was that moment, you know, when you're like hungover and you're like, the world's not really quite right. It's like a bit fuzzy, you're not sort of really engaged with it, and the director would be saying stuff to me, and I'm like, what did he say? Like I was so bad. I mean, it looks good. Like they were like, "This, you're really, really gone for it." Like with the crack, like a lot of them don't really do it. I took it really serious. It was only one episode for the bills. I took it so serious.
That's good though.
But I loved it. That was my favourite part. And then I went on to do Waterloo Road and Doctors and other stuff, Casualty, stuff like that. I always play rough parts, or it's the Geordie. Like they get me
typecast.
in. I'm like rough. I mean, I've become before Ross was diagnosed was kind of when I stopped doing auditioning and stuff, but I'd got to mum stripper, mum crackhead. Like they were bringing that.
Was
in.
that hard for you to accept as a woman? Because like
now that I'm playing a mum.
No, because you sort of, even though you're an actual mum, like there's something about women in age where they're like, "Oh God, people see me as a mum age now." Was that all right, or did you handle that?
I was fine, because I was just I'd been playing kids. I was 24 before I played an adult. Just because of looking small and stuff, like I just still played kids, so it was kind of nice to start playing different roles. And
mum stripper, mum
crackheads, mum who's raped.
Did you do it? Like, did you actually have to get your kit off when you were the stripper or anything like that?
No.
IMDb, forget about it. Forget about it. It's not on there.
I don't think I've done anything. Have I done anything naked or anything?
Would you though? Because we've spoken to some actors like Dan Portman, the Game of Thrones lad, who he did stark bollock naked on stage and the lot. Like,
you could be a crackhead in Game of Thrones. Would you do crackhead in Game of Thrones? That'd be great.
I don't think they do crack in Game of Thrones. No.
I've never seen it.
No.
People writing the scripts do.
Yeah.
But would you do that?
It's not that I'm completely comfortable with being naked. That does not bother me. Not on this show though.
How did we get to this?
I don't know. But
mate, conversations go where they go, man. I'm just asking questions here.
That doesn't bother me at all. And I think in the past I'd have went.
Does it bother you?
Yeah. Like, has anyone bothered about nakedness? Yeah. Like, no. But I don't know now. Like, what thing is being a girl, right? And you've seen this in the industry now with Weinstein and all the shit that's coming out.
Oh God.
There is definitely a level of new directors come in, and obviously I've been in the industry a long time, so I've seen it, and they think they're so original, and they'll send me a script which is basically their sexual fantasy, and they're like, this is like so like they think
he's the director actually.
The weird thing was I've sent that to Brian, so it's really unusual.
This is too much. If you think it's okay though, no.
But so
genuinely they set things up for themselves,
full on like soft porn, and you're like, I've been sent stuff like, even like, I'm not actually, I haven't got an agent at the minute, but when my agent would send me stuff and I'd be like this is like, I'm cool with stuff like that, but I'm like, is this doing anything for me? Like, am I gonna? No. I don't think it does, and I don't think she needs to be naked in that scene. And actually, it might
she's
be.
She's in Burger King. Why is she?
Is she naked? I mean, like,
why is she naked?
Holly,
it's just trust us, all right, Holly. Just wear your lucky T-shirt.
And it's a closed set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's places where it makes sense, like Margot Robbie on Wolf of Wall Street, like that.
Yes.
That is tastefully done, and it looks good.
And it looks so good. That's such a great job. She's so hot, and that like I get that. And there was definitely, yes, you need it, and people are naked in life, but actually, it's almost like that. It's gratuitous, and it's like the crying thing as well. Like when people are over the top crying, we don't actually do that in real life necessarily, and often it's much sadder to see someone hold back tears. Sometimes it's much sexier to see that a little bit, and then you're like, shit, like your own imagination finds it hotter. But I've had like scripts sent to me. In fact, I was talking about this because of all the sexual assault stuff recently, and I was saying like, this guy sent me this script. I did audition for something else, and then he sent me a part where there was a girl just having sex in a swimming pool. That wasn't in the original script, right? And that
was after he met you?
Yeah.
You need to rework this.
I think I've got the perfect part for you, actually. You know, that's the funny thing, is in the media industry, and that's probably, it's not hilarious in any way, but that's probably why a lot of people get away with it. They can send you that stuff, and if you go, that's really good.
And if you really want the part.
And if you go, that's really sick, they go, it's just a script.
It's just a script.
Yeah,
It's not, and the entertainment industry, everyone's so tactile and so open. Like the conversations you will have, you'll notice like there's no boundaries with actors and people. We don't really have those limits, and we'll talk about stuff that normal people would be like horrified at. And so I think there's that.
Yeah, I've sat with Dan Portman a lot. He is quite horrifying.
He's horrific.
Is he?
No, he is actually mental. Like,
that's brilliant. No, but I do think actors are like that because we have to like play other people. Like we have to like get into people's heads, and so there isn't those boundaries. And then people go to drama school, and that's some fucked up shit. Like people do weird stuff.
Yeah.
At drama school.
At drama school, and that like.
Like what?
Oh well, I remember, and he is on YouTube. But I used to live with a lad called Phil Mann. And Phil Mann, great. He does like comedy stuff. He's a great lad. And
is he Geordie as well?
No, Phil Mann.
Yeah,
that would be great. I should definitely have went with that. And I just remember, and I can't get it out of my head. It's not that I think about it a lot, Phil, but it's in my head still. That he was hoisted at one point in a part in like drama school, hoisted into the air naked, and like just looking up and just seeing my housemates. Bollocks, his balls there. This is very pale, bluey sort of balls just up there.
Been
and just
a while.
Bluey. So just like cold.
We've all been there, Phil. It's fine. Don't beat yourself up.
Cold
don't
drama
beat yourself
hall.
up about it.
We've all got it's like a guild hall. It's very cold. They turn the heaters on in the morning, and he's like, "Fuck, I've got to get cold."
Yeah, and just seeing him hoist it and just thinking, I sort of often in the acting world, I take myself out of what I'm doing. I think, what am I doing? Like once I was pretending to be an otter in Epping Forest, which annoyed me because it wasn't their terrain, and I was being asked to be on the floor in Epping Forest like an otter. That's
stupid.
It's ridiculous.
At least get it right.
At least get the terrain, the area right. It wasn't method. It wasn't
forest?
like
There's
what?
No water.
Do you know what I mean?
Stupid,
this is stupid. And anyway, I'm sort of wriggling around the floor in Epping Forest.
Have whiskers, or are you sort of?
No, this is just imagination stuff, and I'm just thinking. For a minute, I took myself out with this, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
What
are you doing?
Yeah, to be fair, you get asked to literally move a foot to the left, and you're sort of like, I'm comfortable here.
We've had a lot of moments like that where we've done like live presenting and that.
I thought you meant like the otter stuff, not
No, just live presenting.
It was
hard
really
enough
pretending we gave a shit about West Brom's goals.
Yeah, that was really hard.
Yeah,
really
that
hard.
can be really hard.
Season was tough.
Yeah, and then obviously because there's also then online there's an Instagram account I think which is or it's either Tumblr or Instagram of girls who have clearly been photographed by someone who's gone, I'm a photographer.
Oh,
and
that's my favourite.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
they're
my
posing
favourite.
with like milk on their head or something, or like something really weird.
I love it. It's like...
Yeah.
Should we do some emails?
Do you want to go straight in on those? So do you know...
Whatever.
So when we first started the podcast, we tried to answer a lot of people's problems, but...
That's nice.
We quickly found out that Brian just likes roasting them. So what
you roast them worse than I do.
Well, mate...
Well, I'm worried about them, and you can roast them, and I might. I don't know how bad are they.
You have no idea what's coming at you right now, because So I know that all the recent ones...
You don't read my emails that I get.
Will be specifically in relation to you coming on the show, because I tweeted out.
Oh, right, okay.
We've got a girl, so if you've got problems that you want a girl's opinion on...
I'm here.
She's
I'm
ready.
ready.
And I know you're good at giving advice. You're a life coach.
Did you tweet this out last night?
Yeah, I did. So all the recent ones will be like middle of the night shit.
6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
9,
6 a.m.
When they're like, late into the night, they're going to ask some weird questions.
We average about 1,000 emails a week. So
That's a lot.
20 emails this morning.
Oh, that's
just
a lot.
this morning.
That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot.
Just this week, I've had someone email me about how to get an extra part on EastEnders, where they can get rhinoplasty done, and send me a whole email about Cheryl Cole, and be like, he's just worried about her, to be honest.
I'm just worried about her.
That's quite sweet.
It is sweet, and then at the end he's like, I know you're not as famous as Cheryl Cole. Clearly. And he's like, but I think you're doing all right. And I thought,
Is that right?
like, I'm not joking. I was scrolling to the end of the email, like, it's really sweet, but why? I think people think I'm Google. I don't know why people are asking me about things. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, you're a woman.
And so I know everything. Is that what you're trying to say?
I've just read a little bit of the email.
I can't wait.
The first email, the first 3 words I've read are art of masturbation.
Okay,
so,
here we go. Bring
here
it on.
we go.
Let's see
Here we
what
go,
got.
guys. Masturbation addiction. Give this person a name.
Okay. Oh, you want me to give them... Dave.
Dave,
This
brilliant.
is Dave.
We
Oh,
know
no,
Dave, so
it's
instantly.
funny.
Statman
And
Dave.
it's funny because
he also has
a
a
masturbation addiction.
Is it Dave?
Well, he verbally wanks himself off quite a lot.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. So what's
And
this
Manchester United. So. Moving on.
Continue with Dave's problem. Come on, this is serious business.
Ever
lads.
since I discovered the art of masturbation.
Excuse me. Hi, Lawrence Geordie and Fernando Torres. Ever since I discovered the art of masturbation 3 years ago, I've wanked off at least once or twice every single day since then. Believe it or not, I had a girlfriend during this time.
How many years ago did you discover?
3.
Only 3 years ago. How old is he?
Oh, we'll find out.
Oh,
I'm
we'll
sure.
find out. Okay.
Some people are late bloomers. Believe it or not, I had a girlfriend during this time. When she ended things, at the time it felt like the best day of my life, as it meant I could watch porn hours upon hours without being disturbed. However, recently...
She was interrupting his porn watching.
Yeah.
She's knocking on the door. He's going, for fuck, I was just about to have a...
Sick.
Billy, your girlfriend's here.
This is so funny.
However, recently, although this feeling kicked in deeper when I failed my A-levels because I spent more time researching Kendra Lust and Rachel Starr. Are you
familiar?
I've seen Kendra Lust before.
okay?
She's a brunette.
Do you feel Kendra Lust?
I don't think that's her real name.
No, definitely not. No.
I'd be surprised.
She's changed it by Deepole, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, because
Asses.
of Deepole.
Asses.
Instead of researching the rules of law, I've realised porn is affecting my life. However, I'm deep into this addiction and I can't stop.
Right.
I'm at a point right now where I don't even watch porn for pleasure, but as a routine. Wow.
Oh, that's some deep stuff, Dave.
The point is, I know Geordie was an extreme porn addict.
I wouldn't have said that, but thank
An
you.
abuser during his day.
And abuser.
Yeah.
Abuser.
And I know he's calmed down since his peak.
How does he know?
Through the window?
I've said I used to watch a lot of porn when I was a teenager.
And in his
How does he
early to
know?
mid-20s.
I've mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of hours to kill in these podcasts. A lot of things come out.
And you've calmed down. That's what he's...
I would say so because I mean YouTube's opened a lot of doors. Do you know what I mean?
He's got other
Get the
things
real
to
thing
do
now.
That's the thing. And
Get the
Now
real
he's got
thing.
a woman to distract him from...
actual.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
But-
I don't think he's appreciating what it's like to be with a real woman as opposed to... The problem is for men, you get into a habit of where... Because it's a screen, it's a different woman every night in your mind.
In a way.
Okay.
Variety. So then when you have to go from that to one girlfriend, the first sort of month or whatever is exciting, but eventually you're used to the habit of a new thing all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
And also, I
interesting.
would say if the girl doesn't watch porn and you do, their levels are different.
Oh, completely.
What you mean as in... they
What
won't be
she's
as-
into isn't the same, is
It's
it?
not going to be the same because porn
Missionary.
stuff is not the... I'm not even saying that, but like there's a different like conversation there, isn't there? Like, So yeah, I think Dave. Let's just think about Dave, because I'm worried about Dave. As you know, it's like this is really.
Well, no, it's literally fucking his life up at this point.
But what I don't get, and this is my thoughts on life anyway. Like Dave's saying he's doing law, right? But he loves wanking off over porn. Loves it. Can't get enough of it. Right?
Once or twice a day.
How
many laws do you think he's read a day?
Exactly. Like so, what I would say to Dave is
wank off over laws. Brilliant.
You could do that, or you could stop doing law and find something to do with sex that he could make his life.
Why not the porn director?
Porn director.
It's not niche.
It's not enough money in it.
Not sort of believe me, there can be big money. I watched a Louis Theroux documentary on it.
Oh, I did as well. I thought
Louis goes to Louis on porn.
Yeah,
and he goes to LA.
But not now. So much free porn. Like surely people can't be making money from porn now.
Well, not as much.
How niche do you have to go? Like
advertising.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
People are still making porn a lot, so there must be money in it somewhere.
And there's dildos and stuff you can sell on the side, that sort of thing.
Accessories.
Yeah. Don't go and work in accessories if you're a porn
I actually
addict.
got approached by a PR company yesterday who want to give me sex toys.
Do you find that's a little bit like?
Is that so to show on your channel and that?
Yeah, I am not doing that.
I'm not being funny.
It's slightly like weird as a new widow.
I was going to say, is that the reason they came to you?
I don't know.
Okay.
Or it could be that I just talk. Not that I talk about sex and stuff because I don't.
But you're open, just generally.
Generally open, so they probably think you need someone to be like that. But I think there's a level. Like I'm totally fine talking about sex. It doesn't really bother me that much. But then also my grandma doesn't need to know.
Yeah, is she a subscriber as well?
No, but she's
lovely new video.
What is that pot plant that she's holding? I must click because the thumbnail's
just take a sip of her tea.
Yeah, that's no. I won't be doing that. But that did happen yesterday.
Did they offer much brand deal money for that sort of thing?
Because Brian will be interested.
No, do you think
they didn't offer me at this point? We didn't negotiate any money.
Just as many
toys
but it was as like humanly possible. Want.
They were really high end. They were like £150 plus sex toys.
He's thinking, why doesn't she just take the free toys paid and all? You
I used to love. I've got some friends that run a podcast as well, and whenever they used to get sort of crap sponsorship deals, they would just ask for the most unreasonable stuff. So once they got offered Budweiser deal, I think it was, and they just said deliver as much beer as humanly possible to this address, but they put in block capitals humanly possible.
That's amazing. You'd be surprised what you can get. Like I've had loads of free stuff that I'm like, brilliant.
Can you pass the dildo deals over to?
Why would I need a dildo?
Well, no, there's other stuff. Like, don't just dismiss.
Like cock rings and stuff.
Cock rings,
lubricant. Can you ask them to deliver as much lubricant as humanly possible to this address?
To number 1, True Geordie Towers.
Oh, for fuck's sake! All right, so what do we do?
For our slip and slide.
We're thinking about Dave.
Yeah.
Dave might need all
Poor
of
Dave,
that.
wanking himself into
but
oblivion.
He's seeing this as a problem. I'm asking him to reframe this shit all over the place, right? Because seriously, is it a problem or is it human nature? We like sex, like that's a normal
Monkeys
thing.
masturbate.
Yeah, it's fine. Like twice a day. That's not 10 times a day.
No, it isn't that many.
It's not ridiculous.
But how long?
You're making me feel better right now.
You okay? You want to call someone?
The thing is, this isn't me. This is actually
this is turning into me getting counsel.
So it's fine.
Life coach.
Right. Yeah. I just think you should reframe it and go, look, I'm not really into law as much as I'm into Kendra Lust. And I would rather Rachel Starr, and I would rather be doing that, doing them. Obviously, that would be better.
Get involved in the industry.
No one's going to pay him to masturbate, though. I think we have to acknowledge.
No, but you can do stuff to do with porn, though. That's your passion.
But he could do something to do with porn.
Could that kill the passion?
It could, but then maybe he just needs to put in levels of boundaries for himself, where he goes.
No wanking at work.
Yeah, no wanking at work, or I'm gonna finish this essay on law, and then
reward
as a treat
that's brilliant. No, that is genuinely inspiring. If you're a teenage boy out there and you've done
the problem I have is
that's a lovely
that's a very
genius.
In theory you're really crack on there.
No, but it's once you're in that porn hole, there's no getting
so to speak. Sometimes your brain can't relax to get work done until you sort of put the fire out.
Yeah, but then he's saying 2, so I'm saying do it before. And then relax, but then you might get a bit sleepy. But then
that is a big problem for some people.
You might get sleepy.
I also think honestly,
coffee. I'm really thinking about this.
Put the kettle on first.
Right, so
Green Day's latest album, Coffee and a Wank.
Wank. You feel sleepy, so
wank Nespresso. and you're ready to go. You know,
there's no room for a girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
She's the one putting the coffee on.
Yeah.
Make me a coffee.
Mom, get the coffee on.
A girlfriend, right? He's only young, isn't he? Like, he's only young. He's doing his A-levels. Like, so I'm thinking, like, just leave it. All right, you maybe don't want a girlfriend, but if you do get a girlfriend in the future, then you also need to check that she's into that. Like, definitely. Like, you don't need to be like.
Not early on though. Not first date territory. Sort of, are you into?
No, but what you're saying is be weird.
Be weird. Attract your own weirdos. Like whatever you're into, whatever weird shit. Like, there's no judgment on that. Like whatever you're into.
The problem is people are not that open, and they like to pretend. So like
they're fine and they drip feed it. Actually, I'm really
spoon feed it, and then but then within a month of being with a girl, you're like, you were a freak from day one. I fucking knew it. You know, why didn't you just tell us? I would have liked it from the start.
Yeah, there's more judgment on girls for that, isn't there? So there's
very true.
Sluts and stuff, and
slut shaming.
There's in the first week.
Have you ever been slut shamed?
I don't know.
It's impossible to slut shame, Brian.
I'm a proud slut.
Yeah, because if someone goes, why are you sleeping with all these people?
That is something.
I'm a proud slut.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing t-shirts.
Put that on your go-kart.
I think we can do that on the t-shirts.
You in your if someone can render you in your underpants. In a go-kart with "I'm a proud slut" as the number plate, that would be great.
Wearing women's underwear.
Yeah, on the Tyne Bridge.
You don't have to Photoshop that if anyone's, because we get a lot of people Photoshopping things. Can we just?
Oh really?
Just a proud slut. No women's underwear on me, thanks. It's
no women's underwear. I mean,
she said that.
I missed that. That was the ultimate in icing on a joke, so to speak.
Anyway,
okay, so Dave, look, just reframe it. You're all right, mate. Just don't. You know, like, don't be so preoccupied if you can. Like, just try and find time to eat, to sleep.
Good.
And if there's room for a girlfriend, just make sure that she is as freaky as you and she's into it as much. If she's not, there will be girls out there. Just cool. Just hang.
Trust me.
Just concentrate on law and wanking for now.
Yeah.
And it's fine. And
try
and make sure but if not, then try and find something in the sex industry that you're into.
Let's also be honest. I think in England, people are quite ashamed of masturbation.
Ashamed of everything.
So we're ashamed absolutely everything.
We're really ashamed of everything. Like, we were talking about grief earlier. Like, we're ashamed of grief. We're ashamed of masturbation. We're ashamed of everything. Like, we hate ourselves.
British.
Go watch Wolf of Wall Street, where he says he has to masturbate a few times a day. That guy's in a high-powered job.
Just to feed the geese,
as
he says.
That guy's in a high-powered job.
Keep the blood flow below the belt.
And he doesn't feel shame about it. He's open about it. It's part of his lifestyle. Maybe embrace that side of things. If you talking about being weird, and then he'll maybe be more likely to attract a girl, because the girl will be like, well, I know about this.
Yeah, and it's putting it out there first. Like, we were talking about being real and being like, people can't really like catch you out on stuff if you're real about things.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because when you first meet a girl and you just go, I'm just going to go to the toilet. I'll be right back. I'm just going to.
Well, that would be unusual if you're with a girl and in that time you want to masturbate.
I suppose, but he's saying he prefers it. He's like, she's a distraction.
Yeah, but then I think that's because then maybe he's only young, so a lot of the girls he's going to go out with are going to be fairly inexperienced and young, and maybe they're just a bit nervous and shy, and maybe Dave, you could take them on that journey.
No, that's very true, because girls just want to make you happy a lot of the time, and you just have to be open about that.
Yeah. Okay, so Dave, it's all right.
It's all right.
Just you'll
be
fine.
positive about your masturbation.
But don't what we got now.
I think this is a good one, especially to get your opinion on.
Okay.
What would you like to call this person?
Steve.
Wow.
I'm feeling for sort of very just sensible.
Fine.
I normally go for like Cherry Dude or something like that.
Okay.
Or Chester or Peter.
Okay.
Anyway, Steve, what's he done?
Hi, I'd like to remain anonymous.
Of course.
That's why we give you the other name, Steve.
Yeah.
But my question for you is, why do nice guys finish last?
Oh.
Unlike most uncivilized savages, when I see an unconscious girl, I would not make sexual advances.
Okay.
This guy's he's working off an assumption.
That makes him like upper echelons there.
That makes me a nice guy.
Just because I wouldn't.
Jump.
Yeah.
I'm a really nice guy who are unconscious.
The fact that he's even quantifying being a nice guy.
And then attaching an identity. I mean, really, in many ways, if you see an unconscious woman, don't think that because you did not have sex with her, you're a great person.
I just kept on walking.
I'm judging that thought process anyway.
Unusual, yeah.
I just kept on walking. Didn't even touch her.
Yeah.
She needed to ring an ambulance. I just kept on walking.
I just kept on walking. But I'm a good person. Why?
Didn't fuck her.
Yeah. Okay, so nice guys finish last. He's just worried about anything.
But see, that makes me a nice guy.
So why is it that
just reaffirming his identity?
Yeah.
So why is it that a woman won't sleep with me? Well, I would never rape.
Oh, you said rape.
You know when Chris Rock goes, "You're supposed to."
Yeah.
I would never rape, and I text her every day telling her how pretty she is.
Oh no.
And how she should leave her asshole boyfriend. I don't understand what to do, as it seems the only way to get a girl is through brute force.
Oh,
but
dear.
I can't even do that. Please help. Kind regards, Steve.
Whoa, Steve.
Steve, you've made a lot of assumptions in your email, haven't you, Steve?
Steve, there feels like a lot of passive aggressive anger bubbling to the surface.
Pent up.
Maybe he needs to do more of what Dave
I see. Brilliant.
I think that would help.
Yeah.
Just we'll get calm down.
Yeah.
They should buddy up.
Calm down. Yeah. I don't know if Dave's
Not at
there.
the same time.
I don't think Dave's there.
Distraction.
So I don't think it's a case of nice guys finish last.
It's not.
But the reason that girls are attracted to bad lads is not that they want a wanker. It's attractive when people are confident. And that is what is attractive, regardless of... And sometimes that goes in the wrong form.
But you can... So what you're saying is, you can be a nice guy.
Yeah.
You can be a nice guy, but if you can exude that confidence that the bad lads have while still being a gent...
Yeah.
Then you're getting a good balance there, aren't you?
100%. Everyone's attracted to confidence. We just are. We're naturally... If somebody's got good, high self-esteem, people want to be around them. When you text someone constantly in a, especially if you're trying to get them off somebody else... It's not very attractive unless that's really reciprocated and you're both well into that space of in being into each other. That's not attractive at all. There has to be a level of not gameplay, and that's the wrong thing, but to sort of flirting and want a little chase. That nobody finds, we were saying earlier about how Ross pulled me by negging me, and that works because without being a complete wanker, if you're a pretty girl and you go out, you get chatted up all the time. If
you do the same thing every other guy does, how are you going to stand out from the crowd? It's impossible. You're just going to be one of the many.
But also neg in the right way. Just going up and sort of going, you look like shit doesn't help, you know?
No, that's not going to be good. But if you...
I hate your shit.
Yeah. No, do you know what Ross used to do? And he used to do this, in general, to bring people down a peg or two. He'd go up to, a girl and be like, do you know what you look like? And they'd be like, who? They're thinking Angelina, and who's he gonna say? Lorraine Kelly, and be like Milan Barosh. And
brilliant.
And they'd be like,
that is actually sick.
And they'd be like, who's what? I think of some film, and he's like,
Champions
you used to he's play for Liverpool. And they'd be like, what? And then they're on the back foot, and he's winning. And he used to do it all the time. He used to do it with lads as well, a little bit. If they were above, big blokey lads, he'd be he'd just bring them down a little bit because he had no filter. But that's attractive. I think it's attractive either way. It's the same with girls. If they're desperate, you're
how can you value someone who doesn't value themselves?
One thing I do have,
I think there's a level to that.
I do have a bit of a problem with that though, because I also think you should value people anyway, even though they don't see the value in themselves. So no, but put it this way, right? If I take English pounds to another country, I still value it because I still know it's got value back where I'm from.
Yeah.
So. But those people don't know what the value of it is, and it's not really to them in that situation. And I know and used to know a lot of girls who didn't value themselves. You don't deserve it.
They're the diamonds, though, aren't they?
No.
I tell you, the ones who've got low self-esteem, who are diamonds to look at, they're the best ones.
Because they're a bit mental as well.
Well, no, because they don't realise how great they are. And part of the fun is also showing them that. But also, part of the fun is not having to put up with the arseholes who think that they're great, who aren't actually great. You know, they're the diamonds, lads.
So part of that is also, I think, some men, you arseholes, some men like to sweep in and feel like they're showing the girl what the girl can be. And I get that. There's a really nice movie narrative to that.
Tom Hanks
side to it. I think they've got their own personality, but I often think that people justify some shitty actions towards girls because she didn't have any self-confidence, so whatever. I don't think that's the right way.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's a level, I think, of sort of self-confidence is attractive, being egotistical isn't, and being a twat isn't. Like when people are like the other end and they think that you're a narcissist, that's not attractive either. And I think where that whole myth of girls like bad lads or the nice guys finish last, it's not actually true. Like I want people to be nice to me, like I don't, but there's also a level of like, you know, matching someone a little bit. It's like you need to have be able to have a conversation, be able to be on top of each other a bit as well. Like with you know, like, you know, me and Ross would argue over like grammar or whatever. Like there would be like something I would say or something and he'd try and pull me up on it. We'd be like sort of battling each other.
But it's fun.
It's fun, and it's not like I'm better than you or you know, demoralising or like trying to put you down or anything. But I think I don't think it's a case of having to pretend to be like a tough guy or anything like that. I don't necessarily think that's attractive either.
One thing I do have a bit of a problem with at the moment, and obviously this email sort of addresses that, is he says I would never rape, and he also says
I mean, that's just ludicrous, it's ridiculous.
But it does sort of show I think when you're a teenage boy, or a lot of teenage boys get feelings where they do feel like real sexual urges and they don't feel like they can control them, and especially in like the current climate where grown men haven't been able to control their sexual urges, and those guys maybe deserve to be shamed because I think they knew what they were doing. There's also a feeling that I think when you're younger you don't understand that so well, and that doesn't excuse it, but at the same time I feel like some people, they need a space to be able to talk about that because they're feeling about those things.
I totally agree that, and I think when we were talking about porn and stuff earlier, I think there is, because there's so much access, and it's not against porn, but I'm saying there's so much access to it. Like you go onto Twitter and you accidentally type anything, like it could be a girl's name, it could be Kendra, and you type that in, you will get hardcore porn, not like softcore, like really graphic stuff. Like I don't really think that young people have the brain capacity to really understand the nuance of that, and like, you know, we as adults can look at that and go, okay, so that's later, whatever, that's two consenting adults. Like it's the first thing that you I just thought that it was in my eye bit. That's what it is. She looks great, doesn't it?
You're well with that bit.
You know what you're looking at isn't realistic.
But you kind of know that, and you've probably as an adult had some sexual experiences where you know kind of what's real and what's not, and what's kind of part of the fun and where the levels are. But if you're a teenage boy particularly, full of testosterone, and what you're seeing is, you know, sometimes simulated rape, which might be fine in a consensual relationship.
People like that.
Yeah, that might be fine for that. But if that's what you're seeing, your idea of sex is really skewed, and then maybe you're reading stuff in the paper and stuff, and you think, well, then I've got to be a blokey bloke, and you see things like Geordie Shore and stuff like that, and those blokes are idiots. I'm sorry, like, what are you talking about? Like, the way they talk is just, I mean, I don't find it attractive. I don't.
It's false confidence in a way.
It's false confidence, and it's pretty gross. Like I just think when I see that, I'm like, sleep, like goodbye. Like I went to Newcastle not long ago for a night out, and I hadn't been for ages. I'm not gonna lie, there's been a shift, you must have seen it, in the lads. I
feel like I belong in a time frame like 50 years ago.
This is like at least. I know this is like harsh, because it's not really their fault either, because they're part of this whole new culture. Everyone wants to blend in, so they've all gone with it, and I know what you're saying. And it's like what did you see then? I was being chatted up by a lad, and I assumed, like, this is really, like, sounds really stereotypical, but I assumed he was gay from the way he looked. Like my era, he was like fake tanned, his eyebrows were plucked to the like inch of their lives, like really like done, and he may have had makeup on. And again, I'm not judging any of this stuff if that's what he wanted, but I'm just saying that as a woman, like, he was talking to me for 5, and I had a drink, so I went, "You're chatting me up, aren't you?" Because I was had a drink, so I wasn't bothered, and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
Here's some tips.
Here's exactly what I did. And I said, I'm not as harsh, but like, I was like, I really like genuine, like, I'm not into that. Like, I think lads going out wearing makeup for a start. Like, if you're from Newcastle, I take it with a pin.
It's fine.
Further down south, I sort of like, oh, it's alright down here.
Do you know, I'm
fine.
Not
do you know, it's what they do.
I'm actually not
but up north, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know whether it's not that bothers me. It's more that I'm like, is it like this keeping up with the Joneses? Like they feel like it's the thing that they've got. I mean, I lived in Essex, going from Newcastle to Essex. In Essex, they've been wearing makeup and they've been doing their eyebrows for years, and it was a cultural thing down there. And us Northerners would come down and laugh our heads off at it. But it's like everyone's just in the same with the girls. They've all blended in. All their faces are like surgeryed up to the max. Everybody looks the same, and they're talking this talk, and I don't even think they believe it. No. Like the lads, you know, it's like, oh, bang down. I'm like has any girl like been into that ever? Like, and I'm like by far like the least prudish person. I don't give a shit what you do, but I'm like, that's not attractive. Like, don't talk to me like that. Like, don't talk to girls like that. And but then the girls must be accepting that as well, at a certain level of acceptance.
I think it's one thing when you talk to your mates like that about lasses, because I fucking do that quite honestly. But when you're around a lass,
but girls would be cool with that as well if they're the right girls and you're on that level with them. I mean, we could have a joke about that and I'd banter straight back with you, but it wouldn't be like a disrespect. There is a level, and I think there's
that sort of tacit acceptance of it, really.
And like that talk, I mean, that's outrageous. I mean, nobody should be thinking, if there's an unconscious girl, I'm a good person because I didn't rape her. Like, what?
I mean, you are as well, a good person because you didn't rape her.
I'm glad he didn't rape a girl he saw on the floor. But why are we having this conversation?
There's a scale to it.
There's a scale, and I think you're right. Like, there's this sort of blokes being young men being given like the right advice about sex. Probably not, and neither.
Like, what's going to be happening in 15 years is what I'm thinking. Because like back in the day, dads would sit down and go, "Son, this is how you shave." Now they'll be like, "And this is how you put your foundation on." Like, what the fuck's going on?
No, like, that's not the same.
Honestly.
But then obviously in the 80s we've already been through that as well. I get the feeling that a lot of guys in Newcastle, even in Liverpool, like people would have been putting.
Honestly, if you watch me and you wear makeup and you're a man, sort it out.
I feel like there are guys who wear eye makeup. I was buying makeup the other day as a present, and which ultimately don't always do that as a present. I think it's unless you've had it requested.
Have you found this out after the fact?
No. Because obviously,
fuck, you're trying to say like, what's wrong with me eyeshadow?
That's exactly what I thought when I originally bought the present. I was like, does this look like I'm trying to? But what I realised was,
sucks.
What is clever is subscribe to the emails, and then every time some new makeup comes out, bam.
You know,
it's a good tip. Anyway, the point is, they were saying to me more and more guys go in and get like eyeliner and those sorts of things.
I'm not totally against that. I don't absolutely hate it. I think there's just a level, like what I don't like or find attractive in probably either. Now maybe I'll let girls off a little bit, but in blokes is being a try-hard, like with stuff. Like I like people to be themselves. So if someone's really done and even like gym stuff, I mean, I know you're into gym stuff, but when people are like mega like ripped, and Ross used to say this as well, like he was like there's no space for anyone else. Like, you're that into yourself, there's not much space for a partner.
No, to actually achieve a physique.
To achieve a physique like that, it takes
your whole life has to. Actually, I worked that out a while back. Was like to become that elite level of like bodybuilder type.
Oh, it's insane.
Not only do you have to be a narcissist, and you know, we've had extreme weightlifters on this show. We had the world's strongest man on. He said, "I'm a fucking narcissist without a doubt." But also. How long is that maintainable for, and what you willing to sacrifice to have a six-pack, like? Because if you've got a natural six-pack, then good for you, but if you're killing yourself and your whole life revolves around a six-pack, I just think it's pointless, to be honest.
Yeah, you've got to think of what the end goal is overall with that stuff, haven't you? Like
maintain a decent physique is great, but I don't think you should have your whole life about it. That's what it is.
I think it's levels. Like if I look at someone and they're like, you know, they've had surgery done and I'm like, it makes me feel like you're really unconfident with who you are and you haven't really found like a
have you seen the Geordie Show girls and all the surgery they've had?
Yeah, it makes me feel really sad. And I don't read stuff like gossip magazine stuff. I read Psychology's magazine. Like I don't, and I'm not trying to be like an arty wanker. That's just because I took a conscious step, and actually Ross was largely impactful in that because he was like, this is bollocks, like what are you reading this stuff for, like, and like Heat magazine and things like that. And I know they have the place in terms of trashy fun stuff, throwaway stuff, but if you read solely that, you feel miserable. And my mum still reads stuff like that, and there was stuff at my house that she'd written. I took a second to have a look through because I need to kind of know what's going on and whatever. Flicked through, and there was an interview by someone on a reality show, girl, and there was a few comments that stood out for me. One was they asked her if she'd had any surgery done? And she said no. And she said, I'm not really into...
No.
She's like, I haven't had anything. No, she went, I'm not really into surgery. I have had my boobs done and my lips, but I'm not into... And I was like, oh, is that like just a nothing surgery?
That's almost considered the regular?
Not like those standards.
Yeah, that's like, oh yeah, but I mean, I got out of bed and then I had that done and then that was it.
And I was like, what? And then the second comment was, they asked her about having sex on telly. And she was like, well, my mum and dad are fine with it, and they've just said, like, everybody else is doing it, so why not? And I'm like, I did a video on it because I was fuming. I was like, if you are that girl's parents, you are a bad parent. I judge you with all of me. Like, what level are we at where we're like, that's totally fine, babe, if you can make some money from that. No, that's...
Desperation
that's
is what I get from that, though, is like... You literally, your life's that fucked that you're thinking, oh, my daughter gets fucked on TV, that might make us a few quid as well.
It's depressing beyond words. And the whole like surgery thing, like I'm totally not against surgery, like, and if it makes you, but it's the level of it. Like if you get your boobs done because you've had small boobs and you're like, I really want big boobs, sound. If you then want to like overhaul, and there's one of the girls, I think it's Charlotte in Geordie Show, and I'm not judging her at all because she's been shoved into the spotlight, and all I see, I just feel sorry for her because there's a different level now. Like me doing TV from being young, I kind of grew up in the industry and it wasn't that kind of high fame, but it was like I just kind of learned what the industry was like and how silly and make-believe it all is, and I never took it serious, and I never have. Whereas these people now going from no one to major big TV stuff, and then everyone's going, you're ugly and you're minging and you're this. I mean, I grew up on telly and people said it to me, and I had such low confidence when I was growing up on television because of it. And I think these people are being like thrust into the media spotlight, and then it's a wonder why they're all like chopping their faces to pieces. You know, and sadly they all look the same. Like they've all got the same surgeon.
Well, there's very little variety in the looks, unless someone
really
fucks up. At which point you're sort of like, oh, that's different.
You
got your nose done on it? I think
that's weird.
Last email.
This one says, Lawrence, Brian, and first female guest. I'm 27 from the US, and you can use my name if you can't pronounce it. Make something up. Apparently his name's Gerardo
Gerardo's a nice name.
Gerardo Racinus. We will use your name, Gerardo Racinus.
Racinus sounds like something you put on your head if you're losing your
Gerardo
hair.
Sounds like
just use Racinus twice a day.
Yeah.
Gerardo sounds like a big car, a big Ford car.
Yeah.
Like the Canyonero that was on The Simpsons.
Gerardo. Kind of like a young True Geordie. My youth was spent...
I mean, we'll be the judge of that.
Kind of like a young True Geordie, my youth was spent eating. So getting a girl was not something I ever imagined I was going to do, but I lost the weight, 2.5 stone. You put on weight more than 2.5 stone.
Good boy.
And have since done much better with girls, mostly because I've gotten much more confident in my ability to speak to women.
Love them.
Good.
But for over 10 years, I've always been into one girl more than the other ones.
Oh.
Wow. I asked her out when we were young, at 18. And again at 21, but nothing ever happened. Since then, we stopped talking until a year ago. A year and a half, actually.
Yeah.
We've spoken every day since. She's my closest friend, and she knows all my stories, and I know all hers, including each other's sex stories. I don't know if giving it one last go and telling her how I feel is a good idea, or will it fuck up our friendship? If I'm ever in London again, I'll buy you a couple of shots of tequila and a pint for True Geordie and Lawrence. That's from Gerardo.
Lovely
Gerardo.
email.
Well, my thoughts are, if she was into you, she would have said by now. Like, I just think she's just not into you.
You don't mess with a friendship.
I think he could be honest with her because they seem like they're pretty honest with each other, and he can say, look, I've got these feelings, I need to deal with them, because unless you feel the same, but I don't think she does because he's tried.
Yeah, she had her time.
I know, like the 2 stones gone and stuff, but I'm guessing that 2.5. Sorry, that's really good. But I just think maybe leave. I think tell her and just say, look, I'm dealing with, like, don't put the pressure on her, but just be like, look, this is how I've been feeling. But I think maybe he feels this way about her because they've had this like intimate journey as friends, and she's been along that path with him, but maybe he's just not experienced that with anyone else, and if he's fixated on her, then he's not really allowing that to come into his life.
Great point. And some guys do that, and I remember when I was younger, a friend of ours told their friend that he loved her and it ruined their friendship. That was the only problem.
Well, there's always that argument, is can boys and girls be friends?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I think...
What do you think?
I think they can, but I think there is always... there could always be a sexual element when it's two straight people. Like, I think you can definitely have friends.
But then can gay people be friends?
Well, yeah, they can. But
Isn't
again,
there was a sexual element there as well.
I'm not gay. So
there's potential for anything with anything, isn't there?
I think, there's potential with anything, I guess. But I think there definitely is that element of that. Probably more so, and not being sexist, but it's more so from the lad than the girl. I think the majority of the time. I would say that would be the case. And
I've been in, actually, just remembering, I've been in a situation where a girl like fancied me, and I was like, there's just no coming here. And as much as I actually quite want to, like in my head I'm thinking I could just go for something like that right now. There's just friendship.
Yeah.
And then that's when I faced that situation now. But I don't know. You can be friends if the both of you aren't interested in that from each other.
Yeah, like be friends. But I think I don't know. Like, I guess they've been friends for a long time. So there's like that.
You say it's good a building block friendship, isn't it, for a relationship? Or do you think they've left it too long?
I think a decade is a long time.
Yeah,
a decade is a long time.
I agree. There's definitely friendship is definitely a great foundation, but I think there has to be, even if it's just I quite think you're attractive, even if it's not like I well fancied you the first second I met you. Yeah. It could just be that person. And I've got a girl that I was coaching for a long time, and for ages she was going out with this awful bloke and she couldn't get over him. And I worked with her on her mindset and stuff and saying, look, the perfect bloke that you're talking about is not going to come into this situation. No. Why would the perfect bloke that you're telling me you want come into this drama with this dickhead hanging around in the background? He ain't coming into that, because perfect bloke doesn't want that. He doesn't want drama. You just said he doesn't, and when she stopped looking and she got rid of dickhead bloke, actually the friend that was around just in their group, suddenly and she's now having a baby with him, and all is good in the world.
Oh, shout out. I have to say I'm a bit of a romantic, so if I was him,
I am as well.
I'm going for it. I'm gonna one day I'm turning up with flowers and all that shit.
No, but that's too much, because then she'll be like, it's a bit needy. I
can't be a bit needy.
Can you be like that with you as well? Yeah. I think
sweet.
I bring him flowers all the time.
Oh, that's lovely though, and that
reject them though. It keeps them on his toes.
Treat him mean, keep him cute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, genuinely, I would go for it. I would, because I know I'm just a risk-taking bastard. So I'd rather risk the whole friendship and potentially land.
You probably would
want that though, don't you? Like, you don't want to live always thinking,
what if?
No, you should still say it. You should say, look, this is how I feel. Like 100%. I feel like this. I've been in love with you for ages. Is it ever, like, put me out my misery? Is it ever going to be that? And she'll probably say no.
He needs a reality check, doesn't he, if he's wondering?
Yeah, but then I agree with you. Like, sometimes you've got to take a risk in. Like, if you do have to just go, do you know, this is how I feel, rightly or wrongly. Like, it is what it is.
And like you said, if he does get a big fat no, then he moves on and he opens up the possibilities for future.
And then he'll find someone lovely, and he'll think, oh, actually, I've moved on. It's good in the world.
The thing is, he would maybe lose the friendship at that point, and that's
that.
I guess that's scary.
Is he really in the friendship?
Is he really a friendship? Good point. Yeah.
If it's that good of a friendship, would she ditch him over fancy?
Part of the problem is, I mean, I guess if he's told her that, and then he's bringing around someone else to that friendship, there's always going to be question marks.
Everyone, listen. Everyone, I always we're not. It is. It's twists and turns. Everyone has their own filter on the world, and you cannot really impact anybody's decisions and how they see it and how they don't, and how they feel about you and how they don't is not your responsibility at the end of the day.
If there's one thing we learned from Byker Grove, don't go on roofs and don't get paint in your eyes.
No, just don't go paint.
He's literally dropping me stuff. I didn't really watch Byker.
Really?
I was more of a Bill fan.
The Bill, yeah.
Preferred other way.
As a 9-year-old?
No, then.
I did, genuinely. Do you know, I like Casualty as well. I still remember the tune.
I've done Casualty 3 times. And
different characters.
Yeah. I played a girl who'd had a boob job the first time that went wrong. And
did you have to, how did you play that character? Did you have to have one bigger than the other?
Do you know what? I was pregnant at the time, so my boobs were massive.
Genius.
And a smart move. I was early stage pregnancy with big boobs on me. So it was fine. It worked out great.
It's funny because she turned up she turned up and she bought her own, so that's perfect.
That's helpful.
Yeah, she came prepared.
Yeah,
so
and she got pregnant just for that role.
I did. Yeah, you know, you got to try method. Just wanted the boobs. That role. Then what else did I play? I can't remember. Oh yeah, I played a stripper who she had a seizure. That's always nice for Casualty. You want to have a seizure in Casualty, don't you? It's like, it seems like a tick in the box, like crackhead on the bill, seizure in Casualty. And then the last one I did in Casualty, I played a girl who got raped. So going back to, it was was it earlier?
Well, yeah. So what the storyline was? You were lying at the side of the road.
It was
and a bad guy walked by.
It was actually really, really horrible storyline, that one. But she was raped in an alley by a friend. It was a hard role to play, that one. It was really intense. Really intense. I actually didn't want to... We played like the club scenes before, and then she goes out into the alley and she snogs the brother, and then the other brother came in and was like, move out the way, and raped her. It's really horrible. It was really gruesome. But the director directed me in Byker Grove, a guy called Graham Harper, who did a lot of the Doctor Who stuff. Really, really great guy. And he was really conscious of the fact that I still have to act what's happening. It's actually really like quite an intimate situation, but we did it so that I didn't meet the actor who played the rapist until on set. I didn't really want to, because I didn't want to be like mates with him too much. I just wanted to meet at real time, and it was actually really weird because it was in an alley, like in the dark, in the the rain and stuff, and like it was a bit miserable, but I didn't feel like unsafe or anything. It was totally fine, but it made it very realistic. It was quite gruesome, the stuff that we shot. Like POV shots of it, and that was pretty minging.
I was pretty stunned to hear how much the guys in Casualty are on.
Well, financially,
that Charlie guy is on a lot of money.
He's
on there a long time. Do you know what though? The extras are on a decent little. Sometimes, like as an actor who comes in and does like a few episodes and stuff, you're like, am I getting this wrong here? Shall I sit back and stop playing roles and actually just be an extra? Because these people are here all week. Like, I mean, like over the long term, they're making more money. Like
just walking around going scalpel.
Yeah, it is boring though. Like I enjoy, like if I go back to acting, which at the minute I'm like I probably will do something, but like TV is definitely sort of calling a bit. But I can't do the audition side anymore.
It must also be weird because now you've sort of got fame as a real person as well, which is kind of tricky thing about being an actress.
Is it nice to be yourself as opposed to being a character?
That's weird to me because I never ever wanted that initially, and then I started to just talk and be myself. And people always used to say to me, "You should do presenting," and I was like, I don't really know, like what, like why? And like then I just started doing YouTube and I started doing other stuff, and I realised actually I do quite like that. And now I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I want to do something more impactful than like just part.
That actually brings us on to what you're doing right now. You are doing life coaching, and you've just started something yesterday actually, haven't you?
Yeah, I was well excited, and so I've got my phone here because my phone's like flagging up at me. I put together online courses on mindset, positive mindset and that kind of stuff, and that's been something that I've done for the last few years. It was I started to, when I started doing the life coaching and stuff, was around the time that Ross was diagnosed. I've always been into it because as an actor you have to work on your mind and you have to have good resilience, and so I always did self-development type stuff and read about 1 million books a week on that kind of stuff, like constantly reading on it. And when Ross was diagnosed, I had to really work on myself, and I just found that I attracted people that needed me to work with them, and I just used to do it. And then eventually I realised actually this could be something I do as a business in some capacity, and I wanted to be closer to home, so I do sessions via Skype, so I can speak to anyone around the world. That's one-on-one stuff. And then I realised actually in terms of finances and stuff, to have a more regular wage and have to do less work overall was to build this sort of income that you don't have to do as much. So I built online courses, and so I've just released a new one, and this is the first one since Ross died. And the reason I kind of did it was a nice focus for me, but also because I've built this new following of people who are either going through similar stuff or resonate with me in some capacity, that I kind of wanted to go, because I, obviously like you guys, I get a lot of emails of people wanting to know like, how am I positive, how do I deal with life, whether that's dealing with death and health stuff, or it's just like I want too much or whatever, like whatever level it is. And so I thought, I need to just do something. I need to put this together now. So I put together this 21-day online course. It's called the Happy Me Project. You get daily audios, you get a workbook to work through every day. There's videos on specific, actually not dissimilar to what you guys do, but I put it out there to my followers. What are your common like mindset issues that you're going through? And a lot of the same stuff comes up time and time again, social anxiety and whatever, like loads of stuff that people sort of do. So I put that in there as well. There's lots of worksheets. There's a Facebook group for people to kind of be supported in that, and I'll jump in there and do live stuff and things and answer questions for people as well. But I've put it at 30 quid, which is ridiculous considering the work that I put into it. But I put it at that level because I wanted more people to be able to get it. Because it's basic stuff. Like, you can tell by the way I talk, like any mindset stuff, I don't want it to be like me flexing my, like, look at me, I know my stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be that. I want you to get it.
Practical.
It's practical. Like, I want people, no bullshit. Like, I want people to understand it. I want it to be not everybody that, you know, everybody in self-development and mindset sort of circles gets this stuff. But I'm like, I don't care. Like, it needs to be like your bricklayer who's struggling with depression and he doesn't know how to deal with it, or, you know, the lad at school who's struggling secretly and he doesn't really know how to deal with it. That matters to me more, and it's something I'm so passionate about because, like I said to you earlier, like sometimes I get a little bit, and maybe this is my own issue to deal with, but sometimes people put me on a pedestal, like look at her, like she's got her shit together, and I'm like I said to you, it seems a little bit like, it's almost like harsh on me in some ways because I work on that every day. Like, I work on my mindset. When I feel something coming up, I deal with it. I do the stuff that I've put into the course, whether it's meditation or whether it's, you know, gratitude stuff or journaling or whatever other things that I do. And it's almost like, you know, if somebody had like the ripped abs, you wouldn't go, look at them with their natural ripped abs. They're just amazing. They're just amazing people. That's why they've got ripped abs. You would understand that they go to the gym every day. And it's the same with me, like with mindset stuff. I know I'm strong as fuck. Like, I know my mindset is unusual. I know that. But equally, it's not unobtainable. Like, the stuff I'm doing, if you do the stuff that I'm doing, you will find benefit in it. And so this course was put together for that exact reason, where it's like, look, it's not overcomplicated. You've got a workbook. You do the work in the workbook. It's not loads, not school. You fill it out on a night time. There's some questions to get you thinking about stuff. You listen to an audio in the morning, which will get you in a good frame of mind. It'll be different topics every day. There's challenges for you to do. There's videos for you to work through as you're going. And just wanted it to be something I can direct people to, because also my time is precious and I don't want to give away too much of my time or energy, and I have to protect myself in that way as well. And I've only taken on a few new clients over the last like month or so, because I also can't deal with too much of people's negativity as well myself. I got to protect my own energy. Yeah,
because you're investing your own emotions into these people, and being around someone who is struggling and they've come to you for help is also you're gonna feel what they're feeling and things like that.
And I do, and I'm quite I'm an empath. Like, I do feel people's energy a lot, and so that I've had to put boundaries on that, and I attract a different client now with different to what I did. I used to just be like, I'll help you all, and then I realized like, whoa, like some people need help, and I couldn't really deal with that. So those people can do the online stuff and I can be there as a background support, whereas I tend to only work business and mindset. So I tend to work with female entrepreneurs on one-on-one, because I can give them one-on-one stuff that they can do, and they'll do it, and it'll be practical and positive. Whereas I'm not massively into working one-on-one with people who've, like, certainly I wouldn't work with deep-seated issues with people because I'm not a psychologist. I'm a life coach, so it's a different like sphere. But in terms of the, you know, positive mindset, practical stuff that people can do, the Happy Me Project online stuff is great. And I'm going to be doing some workshops on that as well. In December, on the 3rd of December, I'm doing one in Coventry because I'm lazy and I like to be close to my house. But I'm going to kind of just go where people want me to. Like, a lot of people are asking me to go to different cities in the UK, and I'm like, look, get enough people and I'll come and I'll talk and we'll do some stuff together. But it's kind of just putting it out there and, you know, see who comes along. Maybe we'll do one of your lot. That'd be good. A laddish one. I don't have many lads.
I think that's about to change.
I think it is. Good.
Yeah. Well, we'll put all of your links in the description for everything that you do, and everyone who wants to get in touch or follow you or whatever can do that. Any more questions from you, mate?
No.
I've got one left.
Wicked. Go for it.
How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, that's a big question.
I mean, finish on a big one.
Do you know what? I just would like to be remembered as somebody who gave life a shot and just wasn't scared to try. And I live my life by a very Geordie saying, shy Ben's getting out. And I have winged life. I still don't know how, like, I get up and do what I want and wear the clothes that I want and just don't really have a proper job, like, and I love that, and it's purely because I just wing it and try and have a go. So I just want, when I'm dead, people to go, I should give it a shot, and she'd like try to help people and she try to make an impact and that's enough.
I think you're doing that.
Cheers,
pet.
Cheers, pal.
You're an inspiration, and I'm really happy that you were the first woman or girl.
I feel so privileged. I'm well chuffed.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you earlier, my dad's a fan of the show, and I didn't know. And he's called Brian as
nice
well.
One.
Wow.
Shout out to Big Bri.
Big Bri, sir. Yeah,
Nice
and he worked on the rigs as well, so there's lots of connections, and he obviously follows you maybe for that reason. But when
Probably relates more to me.
Definitely. But he said, when I said I was coming on the show, he was like, he's amazing though, you know.
Oh,
that's
champion.
nice, isn't it?
Lawrence isn't bad either.
Podcast he's watched.
Lawrence isn't bad either. Well, if everyone has enjoyed this, make sure you like the video, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.